As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be
Oh
a
man,
home
it's
run.
8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a
BravBros. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of BravBros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined, as always, by the one and only Sir Scoot McGavin.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's classy.
Yeah, that's a good one. So long week. Steele and I have seen each other. This is now day 6 of 6 straight seeing each other. And boy, am I tired of your face.
I'm sick of you. I'm sick of your voice. I'm sick of like your overall aura and presence. I love you to pieces, but like Jesus, dude, get out of my house.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it kind of started off with us yelling at each other last week about Lindsay versus Danielle.
Yeah.
And then we had to spend a week straight together. And now we're just like, all right, let's do this thing.
Well, I'm going away tomorrow. I'm going to Texas. My daughter made the all-star team in softball, so I'm going to go down and get to watch her play for the weekend. Super excited about that, but it also gives me a little bit of distance from you. And you know what? Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
It's funny because part of me wants to make a joke about how I would like be a stowaway and hide in your luggage or something and pop up randomly and just scare you. But honestly, I need a break.
Yeah, no, look, we're just kidding. We could hang out every day, honestly, but
We'd kill each other, but yeah.
yeah, but it's all in good fun. It's all out of love. But we had a long week. We had a good week, though. We did our watch party last night at Barstool Sansom. It was a great time. I got to see a lot more of the episode than I thought. I thought it was going to be like people really stopped talking and watched. They
Yeah,
really
same here,
cared.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was a fun environment to watch a show in. I would do it again, definitely. So I'm definitely more open to the idea of watch parties now.
Yeah, I would say the same. Now, I still think a slight caveat to that would be I'm not going to go watch something, say, Game of Thrones type
No.
at a bar because I've always thought that that was weird. But I did have a lot of fears going into this, thinking that we weren't going to be able to hear anything. We weren't going to be able to see the whole episode. We'd just have to rewatch the next day, which we did. And I was pleasantly surprised because I rewatched, obviously, the uncensored version, which is great.
It's so much better.
It's so much better. And it wasn't nearly as, like the first episode, there was a huge difference from watching on live TV versus the uncensored version because you could actually hear them talk. I felt like last night was toned down a little bit. So
It
people
was.
weren't screaming at each other and cursing the whole time. There is one thing. Apparently, I guess you can say pussy ass bitch on
I know.
live TV. That popped up and I'm like, oh, all right. Maybe it's the uncensored version. Nope. All right. We're still bleeping out fuck.
Yeah, you can't drop an F-bomb, but you can say PAB. A PAB is okay. You can drop a good PAB, but you can't drop an F-bomb.
I guess.
It's
yeah.
interesting. I thought the same thing. But overall, great night, and it's getting me excited for July 26th. So as you guys know, here's our first plug. This is our only plug, I think, of
Yeah.
the day. Yeah, one plug. So I'm going to say plug multiple times so you guys understand what's happening right now. What's a plug? We need a theme
But
song.
nobody's complained about this yet.
From saying plug too many times. I think we should get a soundboard button that's like plug.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, I'm going to work on that. I'll figure out how to do the soundboard finally. But for now,
You have to turn up the one thing.
oh, damn it.
Yeah. Falling flat. I haven't done it since Miami, so.
But for now, plugs.
I'm just going to assume that worked because I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, plugs.
We have our live show July 26th in New York City at the City Winery, the main City Winery. So we already sold out of premier tickets. So that means if you wanted to be towards the front near the stage, they are gone. General admission is selling fast as well. Like we said, this one is going way quicker than Philly. So make sure that you get your tickets ASAP, Rocky, so that you are locked in. You can come out, hang out with the bros. We get to announce our guests relatively soon.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it yet. I think we got a couple of weeks until we're allowed to, but they are really good. You're going to want to see these people live. I promise you that. So get your tickets now. We will
Or
see.
maybe you just want to see us live, you know?
Either or. I'm cool with either.
Yeah.
I'm
And
cool with either.
tack on a meet and greet because you can always do that. And you can see in real time when our face muscles start to deteriorate and we physically cannot smile anymore. Because that's what happened in Philly, and I'm going to have to do a rigorous mouth training, and that sounds awful saying that out loud.
You're gonna do some rigorous mouth training?
Jesus. Yeah.
Well,
keep that in there.
You know
Don't
what
keep that one.
I've been thinking of doing, honestly, is getting like one of those calendars that has a vocabulary word every day to increase my vocab since we're like constantly talking.
I know. You said something last night on our way down to Philly about how one of us will say a word that maybe we hadn't said in a little while, and then the other one will immediately pick it up and use it
Yep.
all the time. And then we'll have one full episode where that's the word of the day. I promise you it's not a bit. I'm sure there are some interesting people out there that are like, oh, that's their word of the day. We really don't do that on our own, but we might.
However, if that happens this episode, please comment word of the day is bam.
Oh, God, it's going to be like an Andy Cohen Watch What Happens Live thing.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know what? He took rows and rows from us. We're going to go ahead and take that from him.
Yeah, we're taking word of the day. So everybody figure out what the word of the day is today. We don't know what it is. That's the best part. It's just going to happen organically, and then you're going to tell us what word we keep repeating. But like Shooter said, it is never intentional. We just get stuck on a certain word. It's hard. It's hard talking.
Talking's hard.
Talking's hard, as they
talking
say.
be hard.
But it was a action-packed week in the Bravo world, and I had the distinct pleasure of doing our live on Wednesday with Zach. You had to work.
Boo.
I know, but I will give you props. There was a really funny comment in the little comment box on the side of the live thing, and Zach introduced the BravBros, and then he's like, I didn't steal from the BravBros joining us. I'm like, oh, Shooter can't be here. Somebody commented, oh, no, not steal, LOL, JK. I was like, damn, dude.
To be fair, I feel like they would have done the same thing if it was just me on there. It's just a good joke.
It's a great bit. Whether it was, genuine or not, it was a good bit. Well done, whoever that was. Tip of the cap to you. But we had 2 reunions of 2 of the major franchises right now on Bravo, which is Vanderpump Rules and Jersey.
Boy, are we smart doing 2 episodes a week, because 3 reunions in one episode would be killer.
I don't think I could do it emotionally. Last night was kind of lighter watching it because we were in a bar setting and like we were kind of vibing, like just hanging out. But rewatching it today, like the uncensored version and like, sitting down with my notebook, I felt lost without my notebook last night. I will be honest.
That's funny.
But having my notebook and like being able to write things down and like process it all, it was emotional. It was an emotional reunion. Scheana broke my heart. There's a lot more dynamics at play this episode, and we'll get into it a little bit later, obviously. But that was more of an episode I was wanting. That's what I wanted out of the first one, and I'm glad we got in the second one. And it makes sense, right? Like it makes sense that they got the emotions out of the way early, and then they kind of settled down. Things started to actually get accomplished. So I thought that overall last night was a really good episode, juxtaposed to Jersey, which I thought was not a good episode.
Yeah, and I'm happy that we were finally fucking right for one time. We always have these predictions about how things in reunion specifically are going to go. Maybe we'll get a little deeper on this. Maybe Andy will push on that. Last week, we were sitting here talking about how we expected, trying not to be pessimistic, we expected the next episode, the next reunion special, to be way more what it was, what it ended up being, rather than just a shouting match and emotions flaring all over the place and people just screaming at each other, which, again, we understood what that needed.
Yeah, no, it makes sense why it happened. We're not saying, like, that's ridiculous. Like, yeah, obviously, there's a lot of emotion. And the fact that they all just came out of the gate yelling, like, I get it.
I honestly, I'm worried that VPR reunions are going to ruin reunions for me moving forward, because putting that to... I almost said juxtaposed because you just said that.
See?
Putting that against the Jersey reunion, it was so tame. And I know there's a lot of things that you need to get into with Jersey, and we'll get into that. But putting them against each other, it was like night and day.
It really
I was not emotionally, I wasn't there at all during Jersey. I was just kind of analytically looking at it. How's this working? How's that working? VPR, you're hanging on pretty much every word.
Every word.
Everyone looking for Easter eggs, looking for... maybe someone knew a little earlier.
Facial expressions, body language. Like you're reading into everything. It really is. Yeah. That's why it was nice to watch it in the setting we watched it last night, but it was good to break it down today. But before we get into the reunions, let's knock out our rose and our thorn so that we can dive right in. We got no news today. The only tidbit that we have is that allegedly Beverly Hills is coming back like November 7th or something.
1st, I think I saw.
1st?
Yeah.
Okay, so November... First week of November.
That'll be right around BravoCon too, so that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah. We got to book our shit.
But again, I mean, that's one of the things that we were wrong about because I think last week we had said Beverly Hills will be back in like what, a month or two? July, maybe?
But remember, they delayed the start
Yeah.
of filming, so that tracks. That tracks. But Rose and Thorn time, why don't you kick us off?
All right, I'm going to start with my rose. Feeling pretty good about this one. This came from Snarknado15.
Like the name.
The name is, or her name is Britta. My husband, I won't watch the shows, but I will listen to BravBros talk about the
I
shows.
love that.
That's awesome.
Yes, I love that. That reminds me of last night. We got to meet one of our listeners, and she brought her boyfriend, who is a BravBro. He's been watching Vanderpump for 3 years, he said. He's been starting to dig into, I feel like this is a classic route for a lot of people, is the below deck route. Seems to be a lot of go-tos second. I think it's a good route because you don't get as emotionally invested with below deck, but there's enough there that it's like entertaining.
Yeah, it's definitely entertaining, especially if you go all the way back to the first season, as we did when we did our bonus episodes last summer. So yeah, I mean, we always like to hear that, and we understand being in a relationship when your girlfriend, wife, whoever you might be with is watching these shows. You're obviously going to end up watching some of them. Just try not to be an asshole sitting in the corner yelling at the TV the whole time. Warm up to it a little bit, and you can listen to us, and we'll drop some sports references for you.
That's a really good point, and I want to. This is echoing you. I got to give Shooter credit for this. He made a really good point. It was a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking to somebody. I was a third party in this conversation. He's like, we talk about sports all the time to our significant others. We always talk about sports, the Phillies, the Eagles, whatever, and they're always great sports about it. They're always like will sit there and chat with us. We know they don't care as much as we do, but they give us the time of day and they act like they care. And I appreciate that. And Dev does love the Birds and like she cares about sports, but I do know there's times that I drag on and she is always so nice about it. To all of the dudes out there that watch Bravo or their significant other watches Bravo, just do that for your significant other. Even if you don't care, act like you give a shit for a little bit because it's the nice thing to do and it goes a long, long way. Just pretend. Give them a little bit, talk to them about it, watch an episode without making fun of it, and I promise you it will do wonders. You get a lot of brownie points, and you will end up actually investing in the show. I would bet if you go into a show as a dude that doesn't watch Bravo, and you promise you will not make fun of it, and you actually give it like a chance, I bet most dudes would probably get hooked after 3 episodes.
Yeah, and even if it's not necessarily being hooked, you're still going to get enjoyment out of watching it, which is really all you really want. But I mean, the real thing is here, if you can get into it and you're a full BravBro, you can always talk to us. We love talking to BravBros.
We do.
We like to give you maybe another route, go into this show, go into that show, throw some sports references at us. We'll throw them right back. And then maybe, 5-10 years from now, when we're huge and we've got BravBros worldwide, we can have a roster of BravBros that talk about other shows.
BravBros worldwide.
I'm just laying out my actual business plan for the next 5 to 10 years on our podcast.
If that comes to fruition, I'm here for it. Yep. So you have my undying support, sir. Now, what's your thorn?
My thorn is actually kind of funny, and it gives you a little bit of credit. This came after I guess it was probably our reunion episode for Summer House. And I'm going to say the name. It was Mrs. Ashley Bella. And she said, my opinions are usually spot on with shoots, but I was screaming today in my car with, not at, Steele.
That's right.
And it was all about the Lindsay thing. I don't have to go further into it. But yeah, I mean, Steele had a great episode. Let's be honest. Let's just lay it right out there. Steele had a great episode. A lot of people were pointing out how well he did. His rant was on point. He had receipts. He was getting after it. And he left me speechless.
Look.
On day 4 of 6 of hanging out.
It only took 4 days to render you speechless. But no, somebody commented, I think it was Steele took this episode, which, not that I'm keeping track, but when it comes to the comments, you tend to garner more support. So it was nice to see me take an episode for once. I like to see, like, hey, we like you too, Steele. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. But on to my rose and thorn. My first one's a thorn. I love this review a lot because the ending is just chef's kiss to you. And I'll read the name, Fan of Ray. And the review is titled, Gotta Stop. 2 out of 5 stars. So thank you also for not giving it 1. I used to find you boys fun and easygoing to listen to. Now I find you obnoxious and annoying and borderline mean. I definitely can't stand to listen to your takes on RHONJ. I think you hold certain people to a higher standard than others, Marge. It's clear that you don't know the backstory on most of these shows because you only recently started watching. A lot of Bravo podcasts are like this. You'd have people on that know more than you do. People like you are the reason why I had decided to stop watching these Bravo shows by next year.
I know.
What a sign off.
I read that one too. I don't really know where to go with that. I mean, it's funny because she said that all Bravo podcasts do it.
I know.
So what do you expect, honestly? But
it was so good because I'm trying to envision like a scenario in which I'm going to call this person Ray because their name is Fan of Ray. I'm trying to think of a scenario in which maybe they're out to dinner with like a friend in like a year from now. And they're like, oh, Ray, did you watch last night's episode? And she's like, no, I haven't watched Bravo in a year. Ray, that's terrible. Why? You loved Bravo. You had Bravo things hung up on your wall. What happened, Ray? The BravBros happened, and I quit Bravo.
It's not even really just us that's at fault either. I mean, it's really funny when you lay it out. It doesn't sound like they have an issue with Bravo specifically.
No, it's us.
Just the podcasters.
Yeah.
So it would be honestly like, oh, I'm driving in my car and I really hate listening to sports talk radio. The way they talk about the Eagles is ridiculous. I'm going to stop watching the Eagles.
That's
the same thing. It makes no sense. Like, you're punishing Bravo. Like, Bravo didn't do anything. It's us idiots.
Blame us. Stop listening to us. We're morons. We get it. But my rose, besides Steele took the episode, because that is going to be framed and hung up on my wall.
It's like if the Generals beat the Globetrotters once.
That's good. Well done. But I like this one because I'll just read it first. I'll tell you why I like it. It says, icons. 5 out of 5. From the morally corrupt Faye... Oh, dude, come on. The morally corrupt Faye Resnick. Oh, that's not bad. I'm an idiot. It says, nothing but Philly legends here. The only podcast that can hold my short attention span and love their POV as men. Go Birds. Now, here's why I like this.
Because it's Go Birds?
1, yeah. 2, we take a lot of pride in Philly. We like to jab and like make jokes and stuff, but we love our city. We love the sports teams here. We love the culture. We love the food. We love everything about it. We are big Philly guys. So to be referred to as Philly legends, Philly icons, that felt really good.
Yeah, paint the mural already.
Yeah. And you fucking ruin it, dude. You like I get happy, and then you take it too far.
It's us, AI, Nick Foles.
Oh no! What if it's us stepping over somebody like AI? Who do we step over?
Both of us.
Yeah. Or
Ray.
I'm stepping over Ray. Yes. Full circle. But yeah, that's my rose. But we've been stalling for long enough. It is time to start our reunion episode. Up first, we are starting out with Jersey's reunion. Overall, underwhelming.
Super.
But kind of what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten to a point where they're going to have 3 episodes of every freaking franchise at this point.
Yeah.
And I get it. Look, I understand ratings and everything, but
you are the ratings guy here.
We know that they're going to start off a little slow, try to work through the small, minute details of what happened, not really get into the big things, even when Teresa's pushing them to get into the big things. Overall, I didn't dislike it necessarily.
No, I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it at all. I didn't think it was boring. It still held my attention the whole time, and obviously there's a lot of things going on. I just wanted a little bit more, and again, I think we will get more. Weirdly enough, this year has been husband-centric.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Jersey's one of those franchises that the husbands do kind of pick up a little bit of the slack.
They play a bigger role in that show than any other husbands
Absolutely. Way more than anything else. And we always have the husband part of pretty much every housewife reunion. So when they come out, I expect bloodshed, and hopefully they don't wait until the 3rd episode. Hopefully we get at least the next half of next episode.
I think it will be.
I don't know. Just the way things go, I feel like they tease it at the end of an episode, and then we're like, okay, now we're going to get a full-blown Joe versus Louis. It looks like Fuda gets involved, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for next week's. It looks like a lot more starts to break down and pop off. But let's dive right into this one. I thought it was laughable that Teresa intros the episode by dropping a namaste on us. Like, it's not going to be mellow. That
not only that, but she grabbed Andy's hand and put it on her heart, and he was like, oh, wow, that's moving fast. It's like, what the hell?
It's real. It's real. It's real. Like, okay, that's namaste.
But those two things conflict with each other. Like, I'm going to stay calm. Namaste. Let's just have a good
But
time.
my heart is
But
through
also,
the roof.
I'm going to go crazy. I will say before we get into any of this, the dresses looked great.
They did. I like the
Whose
theme.
did you like the most?
I see you're really pushing this. We need to start talking about fashion thing.
Yep.
I'm gonna catch shit for it no matter what. But I like Melissa's honestly.
Yep.
And I liked
Number
her-
one.
liked
I
her-
love the hood.
I like the walk in as well. I thought she had a good walk in,
Yep.
and I was a fan of the dress. But that, to your point, I think they all looked great. It was a solid cast of.
Yeah, there wasn't
outfits.
really one dud.
And I thought it was nice to see because I thought the summer house outfits were banana land.
Yeah, they didn't really make any sense on Summer House.
No, I didn't get it, but I did
that's
like.
also not a Houseway franchise, so
That's true, but I like the Disney theme. I like the castle theme. I guess he was trying to go for the Irish castle, but to me, it read more like Cinderella's castle.
yes, I agree.
But anyway, now that we got the important stuff out of the way, let's talk about this other stuff. I did like that it starts out pretty hot. Like it starts out with some actual information being dropped, and I think it's because like Teresa and Melissa are incapable of focusing on anything else. Like they need to talk about this one thing. Melissa intros it with, I just want to end this with some sort of peace. They're both very sold on the idea that this is it. They're done. They will not go forward after this. On Teresa's side, she's like, I just want to be done with it. I'm over it. I'm out of here, which is interesting because she's the peace, love, namaste of it all.
Yeah, it was interesting to see, and you can tell that both of them are kind of chomping at the bit to get into what the real issue is here. And obviously, Andy's going to leave it until the very end, or at least until Louis comes out, or just before the husbands come out. But whatever, it's not going to happen immediately.
No, it can't.
We know these shows; they're going to check in on everybody, see how the last time we saw you, what have you been up to since, blah blah blah, that type of thing. This, you can tell, Teresa is more the aggressor.
Yeah, I know.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because usually we see, and Teresa's landing on this whole storyline thing, which we've been talking about forever, but you don't really see Melissa kind of jumping at it. She's just kind of laughing it off. And it seems like she's in the power seat, in control at this point. It's really weird to see Teresa we've seen her spiral out of control before, but she didn't get any backup. Nobody's really saying anything on her behalf. It's really interesting to see that she is trying to actively kick Melissa off the show. And when you do something like that, I just don't see a way with you being on the show anymore.
Immediately after they kind of get their initial jabs out of the way, and it's more so, again, like you said, Teresa jabbing at Melissa, we start to dive into the family part of it. And then, of course, it's going to be about the family, but Teresa plays the card like, I was so hurt. I can't believe my family would do this to me and blah, blah, blah. And I think that argument's just really tired because both sides could use that because you're both being shitty family members to the other person because you refuse to move on and get past this. So I think that argument needs to just be laid to bed because there's no reason for it. You're being a bad sister-in-law. She's being a bad sister-in-law. Joe's being a bad brother-in-law. Louis being a lunatic. So no one's winning on that argument. So leave it alone. But there's been inklings about Dina and Teresa who were always tight and then they had a falling out. Then they came back together. They'd been friendly for a while, and I guess that Louis allegedly got into business with Dina's husband, and Joe framed it as Pizzagate Part 2. Now, I talked about it with Zach a little bit. The more times I hear rumors coming out, the more smoke there tends to be some kind of fire behind it.
Interesting, because I was actually going to go the opposite on that one.
Really?
Just based off of Melissa's reaction, the way that Melissa handled that, she said, I spoke with Joe and I realized that he really shouldn't have brought that up because Dina's husband doesn't want to be involved in the show at all.
Right.
And they shouldn't have aired that out on the show. I think the fact that he aired that out and Melissa saying he shouldn't have means that they didn't want anybody to do more digging, which means he's probably lying about the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's kind of how I took that. Because,
well, to your point in the beginning, if they're trying to play a game, and I think the whole left side of the room got the memo because Marge was tamer than we've ever seen her this episode. Yeah. So I think that the left side of the room got the memo. Hey, we need to reel it in a little bit and let the other couch do the dirty work. Let them do the heavy lifting, and we're going to come out looking better than them.
It's the Carl and Lindsay approach.
Exactly. It is the Carl and Lindsay approach. So that's why I think she was more playing he shouldn't have done that. He said he wasn't going to, and he didn't want to drag him in. I think they're just trying to be.
You might be right, honestly. I think it's just strange behavior to see when something like that pops up and Melissa completely leaves Joe out to dry like that. we're not used to seeing that. So when something happens that's off the beaten path and completely weird, I immediately go to, oh, somebody's lying.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It's just how they've trained us.
Yeah, and it's patterns, right? We see it enough and you start to recognize it. But we go back once again to when Teresa was in prison and what Joe and Melissa did or did not do for Teresa's kids. Now, I do think that Joe and Melissa were there. I don't think that they were absentee aunts and uncles while Teresa was gone. Do I think that they put the food on their table? No, not exactly. But I do think that they were there helping and supporting their nieces throughout the entirety of her stay in jail. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they wouldn't be. But when she gets out, I guess there was a whole situation where she's saying they didn't invite me to dinner one time. There is 4 to 5 separate photos from 4 to 5 separate occasions in which they're all sitting at a dinner table with a whole crew and Teresa's there. We find out later that Teresa had a little bit of a fling or like a little bit of a crush on a neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen if you're not around the neighbor repeatedly. And if you're around the neighbor, you're hanging out with Joe and Melissa.
That's a good point. And I love Teresa's stance on that. Well, I had to invite myself.
Well, no.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
But and this is where I think this was her issue the entire reunion episode, because immediately she gets backed into a corner and changes her story instantly. Mm-hmm. We see throughout this episode, she just says stuff.
She's unprepared.
She's unprepared.
Which is weird.
Yeah, she's extremely unprepared. And we've seen this Teresa in past reunions, but like you said already, she had support behind her. We see her flailing and floundering, and no one's really saying anything on her behalf because there's nothing to say. She's not making any sense.
Honestly, I think conspiracy theory, people aren't coming to her rescue at this point because they see the writings on the wall and she's not going to be there anymore. So why would they hang themselves out to dry in this whole situation? Yeah, obviously later we're going to see Jen step up and say something. Danielle might step up and say something. Dolores is kind of playing peacekeeper at this point with both sides. But eventually you will see them stand up for the important things and maybe something that actually affects Jen directly or Danielle directly. But when it's just Teresa and her shit going on with her family, nobody's supporting her at all. One, I think they're just tired of it. And you see Dolores look at Danielle and say, this is tiring. I'm done with this. I don't want to deal with it anymore. And Danielle's talking about Shake Shack, which made me hungry at lunch today.
Love that.
And the whole thing just seems so odd. I did love Andy's brief discussion with Joe Giudice on the phone, though, when Joe called about Bill doing eyelid surgery. But the one thing that I took from that was Andy talking about watching the show in jail. I think they get Bravo in the can, right? And he says, well, yeah, I don't watch with the guys who watch Bravo in here.
That's really funny. I didn't even pick up on that. But that's when we start to dive into Louis a little bit. And the stories start to come out on how Louis got involved with Teresa, how he got involved with the show. And she claims that he was a big fan of the show previously. He had always liked Real Housewives, whatever. The rumor is that he originally wanted to hook up with Alexia from Miami. Now, Melissa and Joe seem to think that Louis was pining to be on the show. He was doing everything he could to get onto TV. I guess him and Joe were out in like Vegas or something, and he was saying, let's fly out there right now. They're filming. Let's go out
it was
there.
When they were in Ireland. I actually have this written down, which I don't write down a lot of things, but that one stood out to me because that was weird. When they were in Ireland, the guys were all over, not Louis, but the rest of the guys were all over at Marge's house.
Yeah, they're smoking
weed and getting food truck stuff. Louis and Joe were not in a good place. Joe got so high that he was getting worked up and then forgot where he was, which everybody else really loved because they didn't want to hear him talk about it again. But they were not in a good place. I don't think that Louis was even talking to Joe, unless Louis is, and this could be very possible, such a lunatic that even when he's at odds with somebody else, he could still be texting Joe saying, hey, let's go. We'll fly over to Ireland. We'll be on the show. Let's go do this. I could see that happening. The problem is
under the impression that this happened before he was ever on the show.
No, they said it was when they were in Ireland.
Oh, interesting. I didn't catch
so it was this year.
Okay. Well,
but that was a big problem for me. And I hate that we have to read into these things all the time. But when things got a little heated during this discussion, Teresa said, let's act like we're on Beverly Hills and handle ourselves normally.
Mean?
First off, have you seen Beverly Hills?
They're louder than you guys.
Second off, weird little slip there.
Yeah.
Does she want to be on Beverly Hills?
Nah, you're reading too far into it.
I know.
I think you're reading way too far. You're giving her way too much credit there.
But I haven't called my shot in a long time.
No, I do yeah.
Somebody did call me Shoot Your Shot, Magoo.
Shoot your shot, Magoo. All right.
I really liked.
I wish you would not do that so I could save them for the beginning of the show. But
It's
whatever.
okay. I'm going to shoot my shot here and say, I'm going to say Teresa's going to be on Beverly Hills in the next 3 years.
I don't see it, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yep.
I don't. I think that she's going more the way of a spinoff. I think her and Louis definitely get some kind. I think they're going Peacock 6-episode series in some capacity, probably focused around cooking or family or something. But I don't think that she's going to be on Beverly Hills. But I would not be totally blown away if she
Throwing it
was.
out there.
Regardless of the fact that he was talking about Ireland, it does seem that Louis wanted to be on this show for an extended period of time before he was on the show. And I guess he had his sights set on Alexia, and it sounds like he settled for Teresa in this narrative that they're spinning. I 100% think that this man just wanted to be on TV.
I agree.
I don't think it
fully
mattered
agree,
with
yeah.
who, and I think that he saw Teresa Giudice, that he could kind of control her, manipulate the situation, and become the quote-unquote knight in shining armor that she's been looking for, and weasel his way into the Bravo world. I think this was all opportunistic. I think we've seen his mask completely slip away. We know who Louis is now. He is a manipulative character. He uses big, emotionally charged words, long run-on sentences with big words that Teresa doesn't know what they mean, so he confuses her into thinking that he knows what he's talking about so that he can point her in the direction that he wants her to go in. That's all he does. He just says something with intention. That's all. Everything that he says to her is pointed. There's a reason he's saying it, and it is not truthful.
Yeah, and honestly, I had that fleeting thought of him with Alexia, and boy, did I get sick at the thought of that.
I
The two
would
of them
kinda
together
love
would-
it.
No, dude. Could you
It-
imagine them gaslighting everybody?
That's what I mean.
That's
If
what
you
Alexia
gave
does, and then
me-
you throw what the fuck's her name, Marisol in there.
If you give me
Ugh.
one episode of that, I want to see it once, and then I'd be over it.
No.
I don't know. That would be just.
Well, maybe the two of them arguing about something would be interesting, but the two of them teaming up against other people, other couples, other women, no, thank you.
I don't think we'll ever see it, so I don't think
No,
it matters.
No,
but
no, I know.
that's when we get the "Where are you going?" line, because Teresa says, "I'm not gonna have to see her again after the season." She goes, "Why? Where are you going?" She goes, "You're leaving. You're getting kicked off the show." Now, if you had to pick, especially after watching this reunion specifically, who's getting the boot?
Teresa has to get the boot.
Right? She has to go. She's so checked out and phoned in. Like you said, she's not prepared for this reunion at all. She's been half-assed all season. I see tree stumps turning on her. And I love that Marge recoined the phrase tree stumps. And I love even more that Teresa didn't know what she meant.
Yeah, Teresa got really offended and then went after and tried to body shame Marge. And Marge, to her credit, held her tongue the entire time. I mean, she was getting picked at by Teresa. She got picked at by Danielle. And she didn't lash out.
Yeah,
It was weird.
but I think you need to also take that with a grain of salt, dude. I think you've said it before that Marge reads the comments. I think you're spot on. I think she knows how she was coming off this season, and she wanted to go into the reunion prepped. And hey, no shade for prep work. You got to get yourself ready. This is a showdown. You know what's coming. You got to be prepared to take the hits and give them back. So the fact that she knew what their approach was going to be, that's the one thing you can say about Teresa. You know exactly how she's going to go about it. So you can definitely prepare a defense for it.
Yeah.
And she did. And it's a good one. It's her kind of reeled in, reined in. She's picking her spots. She's got some funny one-liners. The tree stump thing was fucking gold. I'm going to use that forever now. But Marge immediately starts talking about the PI stuff. She has the biggest issue with this PI shit. And I totally understand. I mean, if I found out that you had a PI that was digging into all of our friends, I would be not even so much upset, that I would just be like very, very freaked out and weirded out. And like I would have like a violation of privacy. Like, why? Why do you have Bo Deedle, the schemiest name I've ever heard in my entire life? And I saw the guy, he did like a post. Bo Deedle looks exactly how you think Bo Deedle would look, like to the T. Bo Deedle is Bo Deedle, for sure.
He was absolutely just a slummy detective in New York for 25 years, just with mustard on his tie every day.
Oh, yeah, totally. And
In the same hot dog cart every single day.
he's got that mustard stand in his tie. He drinks like black coffee out of like one of those little tiny kind of styrofoam cups with the straw still in it.
Oh,
He
I
sits
was
in his car.
Yeah, and it's the same cup too. He
It's
doesn't
the same
replace the
cup. It's stained, and it's like a tan like Oldsmobile. And he just sits there, and I got a good tip the other day, so I'm gonna go check him out. See, like that's what I just hear
in the
about.
20s too.
He reminds, you know who I picture honestly is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
What's his name? Fuck, Roger. Fuck. He played Super Mario with John Leguizamo.
Yeah. Great movie. Yeah, but we'll get off of Bo Dietl. The funny joke that I wanted to make was Marge feels threatened because somebody else is infringing on her territory. She's the PI of the group, so how dare anybody else do that?
was funny.
But I honestly, I don't even believe that. Even with the joke being said, look, maybe I'm just a victim to recency bias, but after her performance during the reunion, I just don't see the same Marge. It's really weird.
Marge didn't come with the haymakers, but maybe she's saving them because we do see her get a little bit heated later. It wasn't like
I don't want her to get so heated though, because I actually do like her one-liners. I do like
too.
when, like, a lot of times she's pretty pointed. Obviously, when she gets crazy angry and she starts to see red, she says wild things and she starts screaming, and we hate those things. But if she can rein it in a little bit, that is the Marge that we like, and she's very good for TV. The only reason that we've been talking about how much we dislike Marge was just this season is because of the level that she would get to when she starts screaming, and she doesn't do anything. She never proves anything. She just screams the whole time, and it's really annoying. If she doesn't scream, then I feel like she actually has a good role to play on the show, and that makes me feel better about a show with Jersey moving forward without Teresa.
I agree. If you have Teresa gone and you have Marge, Melissa, and I think, you know what? I've said it before. I'm going to double down. I think Melissa deserves a season without Teresa. I think she
so,
deserves the chance to see how it goes. But
it's a week-to-week thing by me. But right now, I think so.
After the reunion episode, I think it's clear to see that. But we talk about Dolo for a little bit. Dolores is a changed woman. She is open. She's vulnerable. She's emotional. She no longer has to be the rock in her family. And Paul kind of brought that out in her. I love Paul, man. I love Paul. I think he's so good for TV. I think he's so good for Dolores. And Frank comes up briefly and she just kind of puts it to bed finally. She's like, look, Frank will always be family. I'll always love Frank. Like, Frank's always going to be in my life, but you can't have two number ones, period. You can't have two number ones. Paul's her number one, rightfully so. They have a lovely life together. They just bought a house together, I think. So I'm just happy to see her able to like be at peace, but I also think that this is going to be a way out for Dolores. I don't know if we're going to have her forever.
She can sail off into the sunset. I think that's entirely fine.
Yeah, I think
she's a pleasure to watch, but she's one of those. It won't even be like, oh man, if only Dolores was here. Like, she is slowly tapering off a little bit. She's not getting involved in a lot of the drama, and she's actively avoiding a lot of it.
She's the peacekeeper.
She's the peacekeeper for a lot of it, which, can be good and bad on shows like this, but she just seems genuinely happy. And if she were to leave the show, next year, the year after, and she wants to go live a happy life with Paulie, we fully support that. And I actually would like to see that. I think that would be nice because then she'll leave and be like, oh, isn't that great for Dolores?
Yeah, and she goes off and like leaves in a very classy way and we'll all be missing her. I don't want to see her go. I don't want to see Dolores go.
I'm just saying, like,
if it happens, I will be happy for her because she's living her best life right now and she deserves it after all the shit she went through with Frank. And this next part made me nervous. We start talking about Danny and her brother. I call it Danielle Danny because we're tight, but Danny and her brother are obviously at odds. And I guess she sent a gift to them when their daughter was born. They sent the gift back, which I can't. This guy sounds like an asshole. I don't know what happened between them, but if you haven't seen your sibling in that long and they send you a gift, to take the time to send it back versus just throwing it away or not using it is such a bigger statement. And that's when I started to get nervous because she says that Real Housewives of New Jersey was his favorite show.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
No, please go on.
If we are in fact seeing the end of Teresa Giudice and she's going on her merry way, if they bring Danielle's brother onto this show and they run it back, the brother-sister shit,
oh God,
I'm going to lose my mind. And
I'm already tired of it. But
look, I think that they are. I really think that that's the direction they're going. I think that was a setup. I think as long as this dude's not certifiably insane, which also doesn't matter because Louis is certifiably insane, bet me, there's my shot. You called your shot, I'm calling my shot. We are going to see Danielle's brother on this show.
Yeah, but my shot was fun. This is depressing.
It's depressing, but more realistic than yours.
Ugh.
So I think that that's the route they're going to try to take it. But I will say once again, and in my opinion, it's once again Marge playing the game. She read the comments. She says to Danielle, I don't wish trauma on your family. I know I said certain things. They showed clips of her saying shit, like when she said those really nasty things to her. I don't think that she is being 100% genuine. I think she's playing the game. I think that if things heated up again, she would say the same exact shit to her again. And I don't know if I will give Marge credit here. I'm not sure that she means everything she says in the heat of the moment. I think that there are times when it's just word vomit, it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she just gets so worked up and angry that she can't really control herself. And I don't think that she means the things that she says because she actually apologizes for those things days and days and weeks later or whatever. And I really hope that that's not true. But yeah, that does get us thinking. It was his favorite franchise. He really liked it. And Andy said, isn't it ironic that he could have been on this show? He could have shown his face on the show. And instead, now he's away. Now, two things could come of that, and I hope it's not the first one, but the first one that it comes to mind is there's way more to this story, and Danielle definitely did something wrong, and that's why they're at odds. To send a gift back, like no, I'm just saying there are two possibilities here. Either she really did something super wrong, and he's sending gifts back and things like that, or he's just a huge asshole. I choose to believe the second one.
I think that, or he's teeing up to get on this fucking show.
Oh, God, I hope not.
But I guarantee you in the next 2 years, we see Danielle's brother come on the show.
I think that's possibly true.
No. I think as a friend of role, not just a one-off where it's like, here's Danielle's brother. I think he makes recurring. I think that...
Well, she said she's going to see him the next day. But, yeah. I mean, we haven't heard anything about that. And I know she plays a lot of personal things close to the chest, but we haven't heard anything about that meeting or how it went. Or
Marge does say that Danielle flipped on her. She said that I was nothing but nice to you. I was nothing but nice to you, which is all she said the whole season. And at some point, Danielle flipped. But here's where the whole entire season got blown out of proportion because of one moment between Danielle and Fuda. And this is all Fuda's fault. And this is what pisses me off about it. But I do think it's good for TV. And I think that she played the game right out of the gate. The conversation was not that bad. And Danielle wasn't openly talking shit about Marge. Even Marge says, yeah, you know what? After seeing it, it was pretty mild.
Well, that's what bothers me is that Marge, before this conversation, was still flipping at Danielle, saying, you flipped on me. I was nothing but nice to you, blah, blah, blah. But she knows because then Andy says, well, when you watched it, how did you feel? And she goes, I thought it was pretty mild. I didn't really think it was that much, but obviously it got blown out of proportion. So you know that it was mild and you blew it out of proportion or someone else blew it out of proportion when it got to you. But you're still flipping out at her.
That's a really good point.
So are you holding on to resentment because of the things that Danielle said after that? And with your fights, you can't really do that because if the stem of the problem was a misunderstanding entirely and Fuda was just trying to get some dirt so that she could get in your good graces, I would love it if Marge would look at Fuda and just be like, you didn't tell me exactly what she said. You made it seem like it was so much worse than it was. You set this whole thing up. All of this is on you.
She's not going to do that.
That would have been great, though.
But no, Fuda's...
Then that would alienate Fuda entirely, and she would have no friends.
Right.
And then she wouldn't really have a role in the show. So there's a lot of inner workings there that's tough.
And she's so far up Marge's ass. Like, here's the difference between Fuda and Danielle. And I do think these two can carry this franchise into the next generation. They are good enough. And we saw Danielle come into her own towards the end of the season. She had a good reunion for all intents and purposes. And Fuda played the game out of the gate. She needs to clean it up a little bit because I think she gets scared in the heat of battle. I think that's why she leans on Marge. She's not confident enough to take on people head on yet, I don't think. But I think she could get there. I think Danielle, she kind of got thrown into the ringer out of the gate. Like Fuda got to ease in and be on the aggressor side, whereas Danielle was playing defense. And as we've seen on these shows repeatedly, it's much harder to play defense than it is to be the aggressor because the aggressor... You can, when you're on offense, you can kind of say what you want. Even if it's not fully true, you have the power to be like, blah. And it's up to the person to defend it. And it's a lot harder to defend because no one believes anybody in these shows. But I do think that these two can take this show to the next generation. So I'm excited to see what they can do. But Fuda keeps saying to Danielle, like, you took zero accountability. It's like, how do you want her to take accountability for this when you're still leaning on the fact that she was in the wrong entirely, that she did in fact say that Marge has an arsenal and blah, blah, blah. She said, Laura said that Marge has an arsenal. Hey, Fuda, we're both new. What do you think? Can we have a girl-to-girl talk right here and break this thing down? And instead, Fuda took that to Marge and spun it that Danielle was just sitting there talking shit all day. Yeah. So I feel like if she takes accountability before Fuda recognizes that that's not exactly what she said, it puts more guilt and blame onto Danielle. It's almost like, oh, yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, and Danielle really hasn't changed her position. I mean, she was pretty honest about what she said up front, but nobody was willing to hear what she had to say. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I guess when you're Marge, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, she was saying this, Marge isn't very real, or I guess She's not very logical when it comes to these things, especially when somebody else is talking about her. So yeah, I get that Marge wouldn't believe Danielle right away and say, "Oh, that's really mild, not a worry in the world. Don't worry about it. This is a housewife show. Of course she's going to blow it out of proportion."
But Fuda could have cleared it up there too. She could have been
She
like,
had no
"It's not that
intention
big
of
a
ever doing
deal."
that. The whole reason that this blew up, and we fully agree on this, is because of Fuda. The whole reason that it continued is because of Fuda. At any given time, Fuda could have just stepped in and said, "You know what? Maybe it was a misunderstanding." She wanted that smoke. She
Oh, yeah,
wanted
yeah,
that
yeah.
to happen, and she played everybody pretty much to the part that they play. But Danielle never stopped saying the truth.
No, she
She
stuck
never
by it.
said, "Oh, no, I didn't say that. I said this." She specifically said, "Yeah, I brought it up because I was hearing it from other people, and she's new to the show, and I wanted to talk to her, and she seemed like she was my friend."
Yeah.
And she wasn't. So Danielle's been telling the truth the entire time. We have cameras rolling. We can see what it is. Marge understands now that it was super mild. Hopefully, we can just lay it to bed. Do I want Marge and Danielle to be friends? To an extent, but not all the time. Do I want Fuda and Danielle to be friends? I think maybe for a season, and then I'd like them to fall out again because that would be really fun.
What I want from them is simply a mutual respect. I don't need it to be friendly.
That's kind of what I want on all shows with every housewife, though.
I don't do that.
I mean, a couple of like good friends. Here
Oh,
and
I see
there.
what you mean. I thought you were patronizing me.
Oh, no.
No, that's what, like, I think that you need to have, if they are in fact the next gen, then you need to have a mutual respect so they can face off and get their minions against their minions. And that's hopefully the route the show goes instead of the brother route. But Andy kind of helps squash it. Dolores helps squash it because Dolores is like, look, guys, this is one of the dumbest fights that we've ever seen. And when you actually break it down, I've been so honestly invested in it because I've been so ride or die for Danielle that I want this to get cleared up that I didn't even realize how dumb this argument really is.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty fucking stupid.
Well, you could tell that even Andy was over it. He's like,
Yeah.
this is the dumbest, possibly the dumbest argument that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And overall, Andy just seems like he's done. He had a weird comment in the beginning where he said that fans and viewers really liked it and they were raving about the season. That's a lie.
That's
I didn't
just
see
not
anybody
true.
raving about the
No,
season.
people were complaining about it a lot, and people were just standing blindly by Teresa regardless of what was going on.
Yeah.
But of course, it comes back to Teresa and Melissa, and things start to finally break down. Teresa's been saying shit the whole episode, even when she's not the one talking. She just throws out one-liners that make no sense. They don't land, and it just makes her look desperate and unprepared. And I'm going to keep using that word because that's the best way to describe what I saw out of an OG of the OGs. Like, she is one of the queens of all of Bravo. And not only did you half-ass the season, you half-assed the reunion. And you're yelling just random sentences. And maybe that's because Louis broke your brain. Like, I don't know. But it comes back to the Antonia Sweet 16 thing. And when I saw this scene, I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was obviously, you know what the reaction's going to be. Anytime you mention the children, it's just such an easy way for anybody to clap back at you. As soon as the children's name are brought up, everybody can just go back and like start yelling. But Melissa does play this card that like, I want to leave the kids out of it. Like, I don't think that's right. And that's just wrong for her to have brought up Antonia like that. Let's not forget that Melissa's the one that said Teresa's kids have hate in their heart for Melissa. Like, no, they don't. They don't have hate in their heart. They might think of you a certain way because they hear their parents talk shit on you 24/7. You guys haven't been as close to them as you had in the past, so obviously they're going to be hurt about that. They're going to say some mean things. They definitely still love you. They don't have hate in their heart. Like, that's a ridiculous thing to say. So I think it's wrong that Joe and Melissa try to... They want to be the good guys so bad that they gloss over all the shit they've done. And I think it's a bad approach. We've talked about their approach in the past, like letting Teresa and Louis bury themselves. So when they do that game where they act like they haven't done anything wrong, it does piss me off. But we find out, and I believe this wholly, that Joe wasn't on the jail list, like the visitation list, until they did the check-in with Teresa on Bravo.
Absolutely.
That's completely true.
But I also think that he probably didn't reach out to get on the jail list.
That's
I think they're both wrong, and that's fine. Like, but
Yeah,
you
but
can't
that's
bring it up and then say, "Oh, well, you did this and you did this." It's like, well, both of you probably did something here, and I think that's just watching this show for so long, realizing the dynamic between the two of them. It's always kind of been like that. There's always been some issue going on, whether it was with Joe Giudice and Joe, or Teresa and Joe, or whoever, Melissa involved. Who cares? It's always the same thing. There's always an issue somewhere. They're always using the show to their advantage. The show comes first before family. We know that, even though they talk about family all the time.
The biggest thing that came from this episode was originally it is claimed by Teresa that Caroline Manzo put her in jail and that she was the one that ratted her out. Now, in a moment of just word vomit, she again, unprepared, erratic, just saying random things. She just throws out there, I don't think she did. I don't think that Caroline did. I think that you did, and points at Melissa. Now, there's so many things wrong with this. One, no one put you in jail but you and Joe Giudice. You guys did illegal shit and you got caught. If you don't want to go to prison, don't do illegal stuff. Don't get caught doing illegal
Good
stuff.
rule of thumb.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty black and white. There's no real gray area there. Now, if you want to throw your sister-in-law under the bus and call her a rat and say that she ratted you out as a narc, one, in any place, that's a big allegation. In Jersey or the Northeast, being a narc is a huge allegation.
Yeah.
So for you to
call a rat.
Yeah, so for you to call your sister-in-law that and say that she's the one that put you in prison is a huge claim to make, and she does it so nonchalantly. And I think it's the perfect way to kind of describe Teresa this season. She has no tact. She has no approach. All we're seeing from her is a woman that's been twisted and turned by Louis. And if you are a tree stump, you should be concerned. Get off of this whole, oh, if you don't like Teresa, you must be a Joe and Melissa fan. It can be separate entirely. Think about Teresa and Louis, period. Leave the emotion about Joe and Melissa out of it. It's Teresa and Louis. You should be worried about your girl because she is in a bad spot with this man. If you watch the last 2 episodes and Louis' behavior and you think that he's even remotely a good husband or remotely a normal person or even sane, you're watching a completely different show than we are.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of see this the entire episode. No matter what happens, Teresa just keeps taking jabs at Melissa.
Yeah.
That was her game plan going into it. I'm just going to go after Melissa no matter what happens. You could be talking about Danielle's daughter and having boyfriends, and she'll look at Melissa and say, how many boyfriends do you have?
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's what happens. It's just every little detail that happens with other people. Teresa tries to turn it back on Melissa, and she probably thinks that she's doing a good job because she's just so twisted in her own mind, and she probably has Louis supporting her saying, yeah, you got her, that was a good one, we're going to make her look like a clown on national TV.
Yeah.
In reality, Melissa's keeping her cool, and it's got to be pretty easy to do when somebody's making these crazy allegations and saying wild things
And
you
not
don't
making
even have
a
a
whole lot of
comeback to it.
sense.
But that's the thing is, like, you can't even fathom a comeback to what she's saying
Yeah, that's a
because
good
they're
point.
so outlandish and so ridiculous that you just have to laugh it off. Like, no, there's no way that you mean what you're saying, and even if you do, then there's something wrong with you. So I'm just gonna laugh at this.
Yeah,
And Melissa looks great right now. I mean, I think she
She did.
absolutely destroyed Teresa in this episode.
if you are scoring it, it is definitely 1-0. It might be 2-0, Melissa, from one episode because Teresa did that poorly. I thought she did terribly. This was the nail in the coffin for me with Teresa Giudice. I know I said last season when we watched that I was ready for a season without her. For the sake of the show, she's got to go. And I think that you can do it in a way where you frame it as, oh, we're giving you a spinoff. We're going to let you go over to Peacock for a 6-episode series with Louis. You guys are going to tour Italy and eat food and like be stupid. And that's your big break. Go do your thing. You've earned it. But in fact, it's a way to get her off the show amicably and then take Jersey into a different direction. And whether that's the newbies, whether you try to lean more on Melissa and see if she can sink or swim. Give her a chance. Give her and Joe a chance to be Teresa free and just see how it goes. If they flop, now you know. But you also haven't gotten the chance to see it because we've been talking about this same fucking topic for 10 years. This is the same shit we said last season. We're just doing it again in 2023. So hopefully next year we see something change because it has to. It absolutely has to.
We said this last year.
I know. But that takes us to the main event, VPR Round 2. How was this episode?
Much better than the first one. Obviously, they're two separate entities, so it's hard to even really compare them because we know what we needed last week was just an eruption. And we're very happy to be talking today after a more controlled show. And they gave us what we asked for, which we got a little bit of heat for, talking about how we wanted Sandoval to talk a little bit more so he could hang himself.
I think that it got misconstrued by people thinking that we wanted to hear what he had
What
to
else is
say.
new?
Like we don't want him to have a platform to defend himself. We're not going to believe anything that comes out of his mouth. But we had people, I loved this. This should have been my rose. Somebody commented, oh, this is what they were talking about in that moment where he sits there in an awkward silence trying to answer that question for like 5 minutes straight.
Yep.
Like, what actually happened, Sandoval? And he's just crickets. That's what we want. We want him to have to try to dig himself out of this shit because it's impossible. Everything he says is a lie. It's much more impactful when you watch those scenes of him just being this scummy dirtbag that is incapable of responding because he doesn't know which lie he's told already. He doesn't know which stance to take because he's spun 16 different webs. So I thought it was a much better episode just from that aspect. And I think it was also lost. We understood where the heat was coming from.
Oh, yeah.
We got why Lala was acting that way. We got why James was acting that way. We weren't saying they didn't have the right to be like that. We were saying maybe it would be more productive if they just kind of were able to sit back a little bit and let Sandoval hang himself, which is
and
what
I
we
think
got to see.
I couldn't really tell if, honestly, James and Lala just got tired because they were going at it for 3 hours at that point. Obviously, you're going to tire yourself out. Or if something clicked and they realized, whoa, let's see what this idiot has to say.
So I have to give Lala credit. When she exits the stage for the lunch break, she says to Katie, hey, am I too out of pocket? Am I coming on too strong? Because I'm not trying to. It's just every time he opens his mouth, I want to jump down his throat.
Right.
And what this episode did for me, honestly, with Lala, and I read some comments and I read some discussions that people were having about where all this hate and anger is coming from. Because originally I was like, oh, she's just trying to like go at him. She's trying to be the tough girl. And I think that was short-sighted on my part. This is a lot of projection, I believe, from what she went through with Randall. And I think that this is an opportunity for her to confront somebody that put her friend in a similar situation. That makes a lot more sense to me. And that was something I didn't recognize. So I do want to like say that it makes a lot of sense why she's more emotionally invested in this than maybe I would have thought, because her and Ariana weren't that tight. But seeing as she went through what she had gone through so recently, like it does add up, and like it finally clicked in my head a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Well, we also love self-awareness, and just her having that conversation with Katie. I think she even asked one of the producers too, like, do I need to tone it down a little bit? What's going on? What do you think? And the producers, credit to them. I mean, they're on it. The producers, the filming crew.
Patrick, the producer, I wrote his name down. He's the one that had to deal with Sandoval.
Right, yeah.
Fucking top-notch job, buddy. And also, great arms. Dude, great pipes.
Nice.
Great pipes, man. He's been doing his curls. So, Patrick, nice job, buddy. I see it. Game recognized game. Nice job, dude. But
No, but like we love to see that they were able to kind of reel it in, and like I said, whether it was them getting tired or them realizing we can let him talk and it's going to be even more ridiculous, and then we'll have more ammo against him going into the final stretch. Now, we heard that maybe it didn't go the full 10 hours. They probably had to cut it a little short after emotions were running very high, I assume, after Raquel came out. But give him a little bit of space to just squirm, and that was the most enjoyment I got out of watching.
It was so good.
When he was stammering and going back and forth and was just entirely silent. It was like you could, even where we were watching at the bar,
You could hear a pin drop.
aside from me laughing really loud,
Yeah.
you could hear a pin drop.
It was
just chef's kiss. It was that's the word, by the way. 'cause
No,
you
it
said
wasn't.
chef's
I already
kiss
picked
earlier.
up on what the word of the day is.
Okay. All right. Well, either way, had a great time watching him squirm. I got so much enjoyment out of it because honestly, 2 episodes ago in the finale, I felt a little dirty. I felt like maybe we shouldn't be able to see these things. We shouldn't be able to get an insight into somebody's life like this. First reunion, they were screaming at him the whole time. I couldn't focus on anything, even during the uncensored version. This time, I'm loving it.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And that's what I was hoping for. But we're skipping too far ahead. Let's dig in. Let's start from the top. LVP goes kind of at Lala and goes, You're being too aggressive with Sandoval. You're coming in too hot. And LVP needs to just kind of cool it a little bit. And I think she gets it about halfway through this episode, because then she starts going back at Sandoval a little bit. She starts questioning him. I understand that you're trying to protect him a little bit, whether it's you feel like you are a mother to these kids or you're trying to protect your business, whatever the reason may be. If you've been on TV long enough, you got to know, like, you're not going to come off good when you're defending Sandoval. So, like, settle down. I agreed with Lala and James. I thought it was funny when James snaps at her, then walks off the stage and then comes back and says, sorry, Lisa, love you, Lisa. Sorry, mate, Andy, I'm so sorry. He's like, just stay in your fucking seat.
Yeah.
Just sit down.
Yeah, that was a really funny, like, laugh out loud moment, because that was just Andy dealing with a child at that point. Just sit in your fucking seat.
He is a child because he has to get up because
But
he has
I
to
like-
pee.
But
He
I
has to pee
like
every time.
I know. And I like that. Look, Lisa, yeah, the first time that she said you can't call him a dangerous person, okay, we understand where you're coming from as the mother of the group. You could tell right away Lala went right back at her.
Oh, she wasn't
Once
scared.
that gets ripped off, other people might feel like they can go back at her.
Yeah.
And she kept going. She defended him like 3 or 4 more times between then and now. And it's like, what are you doing, lady? Just back the fuck off and go. I saw a picture of her at a World Series of Poker event playing poker, and she had her dog on the table.
Oh, that's
So
bad.
go play
bad
poker.
form.
Get out of here. Go play poker.
You can't put the dog on the table.
I know. But originally I'm like, yeah, obviously LVP has to be there. That makes sense. Now I'm like, go away.
Yeah,
You don't need to be there. You're just trying to be like peacekeeper in a situation that does not call for a peacekeeper.
We don't need a peacekeeper.
Andy can handle it. There's security there, whatever. Who cares? Back off. He doesn't need somebody to speak for him. The more times that he says, thank you, Lisa, I freak out.
Yeah.
He thanked her like 4 or 5 times in just this episode.
Yeah, the fact that
she's speaking up for him and he doesn't have to talk. He doesn't have to lie his way out of anything because LVP's got his back.
Yeah.
No one else does. Schwartz is taking Xanax over there, which we'll get to. And he's squirming in his seat. If LVP's not there, he is right in the sights. And now you're seeing people get frustrated with LVP stepping in. It makes sense. Like, I like to see that James walked off, got fed up, came back, apologized to her because at the end of the day, he still loves her. They might not quite understand why she's doing this or what she's doing, but I do like that they're not afraid of her in this situation.
They're starting to stand up to her. And even when James comes back, he apologizes. But immediately when Lisa calls him out for banging Kristen to get on the show, he's like, you should be thanking me. You should thank me. And it's like, you know what? We all should thank you, James Kennedy, because
he made a good point. He was like, I was 21 years old. You're going to hold that against me? I was 21 years old, not on a show, trying to figure out what I want to do with my career. This motherfucker's 40
doing the
and
same
still
thing.
doing the same thing.
Yeah, totally. But Sandoval makes an off-color comment about Lala ripping out her IUD the minute that Scheana got pregnant. And it's like,
It's Stassi.
How dumb do you have to be to take jabs at these people right now? Like, that's where I recognize that this is a narcissist. This is somebody that doesn't give a shit. All he's concerned about is himself.
I didn't want to see him cry and squirm anymore. I wanted to see him say ridiculous things
and just get
because
shattered.
He's a terrible fucking person. Like, this is when the worst in you is going to come out, when you're pushed against the wall and you have nobody defending you, nobody to help you, and somebody says something. I want to see what kind of off the walls shit you can say, because there's things in your mind that you've probably been thinking for years. And he's going to start firing away, and it's just going to be digging and digging and digging. He might be untouchable, honestly. I know we talk about him coming back, obviously, next season because you need it. But if he keeps going down this path, it's going to be tough to see him in a room with anyone else. They might just punch him in the face.
They might. But this is where I softened up to Lala a lot. And she starts talking about her situation with Randall and what she's gone through over the past 6 months to a year and the Randall scandal and everything coming out about him. First and foremost, it is almost comical that Randall's spokesperson is the same spokesperson as Harvey Weinstein. You can't write that.
Hey, man,
shit.
I've been through this before. I know how to get you in jail.
I know how to make you look even worse. Follow my lead.
I felt the same way about Lala going through all of that. And it's important that she's able to talk about it, especially in a public setting, especially in the highest rated show of all time as far as reality TV goes.
Yeah,
there are more people watching this. This will reach way more people than her just putting something on Instagram. I don't think that this was calculated in any way, shape, or form. I think that it was real. I think it was raw, and it was good to see. And I think that it probably got through to a lot of people that were watching. And honestly, if you have a bad take about that and you feel like she manipulated the system and how dare she do that and talk about that, grow up.
Yeah,
honestly,
seriously.
Just grow up.
Who gives a shit?
People need to be able to talk about these important matters, or nothing's going to get fixed. Hollywood's going to remain the same if we don't get to talk about this.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And that segment kind of ends with, we check in on Lala's sobriety, and I will always give props to my fellow sober people out there. She's just shy of 4.5 years, and I am just over 4.5 years. Major props to Lala. It's not easy, especially in this setting. I can't imagine how difficult it is to stay sober. So props to you. That's pretty big. But now we get what we've all kind of been waiting for, but it felt dirty to watch it. Sandoval goes to Raquel's trailer, and they're having like a one-on-one that is arguably the most forced, awkward one-on-one scene I've ever seen in my entire life. They're clearly trying to not say the wrong thing. They're clearly trying to not rub people the wrong way. It's almost like they wrote a script down and they were trying to remember their lines.
I think that's actually what happened. I don't think that's too far out of line to imagine that they actually rehearsed something. I, however, was chanting for him to kiss her when he walked into the trailer. Yeah, I'm just rooting for things. I'm pretty sick. But no, you can tell right away it was really weird. And then the thing that they get hung up on is Raquel questioning Sandoval about his intimacy
Oh my
with his
God.
girlfriend. She felt bad about that for herself, obviously,
Yeah,
for
no,
selfish
she
reasons.
felt like she
You were
was
telling
scorned.
me that you weren't being intimate with her. You hadn't had sex with her. You were completely gone. You were telling me that you were going to break up with her, which we talked about before. That's probably what he was doing the whole time. And she actually felt really bad for herself. And it was kind of like that moment that she had a couple of weeks ago where she said, do I really want to be risking my reputation on a guy who's cheating on his girlfriend? It was
Which
that whole conversation over again. And your reputation's gone. I don't know what you're worried about at this point. Like,
that's what's
stop.
so funny is how she's phrasing it. She's like, my character is now in question. Nah, dude,
No.
it's been in question. This is not the peak of it being in question. This is just the downfall. You've been on the chopping block for a very long time now. This should not be news to you that people are reacting the way that they are. But the best part was Tom's defense. He's like, well, Ariana went from saying like, oh, my fashion, like, oh, I would try on like a pair of pants, and she's like, no. And then one day I was like, oh, Tom, like, you're so good at fashion. Like, what?
That's the way to his heart. You just
What
got to
the- no,
tell him that he's good
wait.
at fashion.
So the moment that they're referring to when Scheana is like, no, they have been intimate, like they said that they were very intimate over the past month. Tom was able to be more intimate because she complimented his fashion sense.
Pretty
That's
much.
his defense. He's like, it did get good for a little bit, like she complimented me one time. What that does in my stupid brain is like, okay, so you stepped out on your girl because she made fun of your clothes.
Pretty much.
Because you're that much of an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, we know how egotistical he is, so she wasn't feeding into that anymore. And I guess she probably was for the first couple of years, but she got tired of it, as she should. And once she stopped doing that, that's when he grew distant. She wasn't propping him up and putting him on a pedestal and
Oh.
saying that he was better than everybody else. She was just treating him like a regular person and probably getting a little annoyed at him because, let's face it, even before all of this, he's an annoying piece of shit.
Yep.
So, yeah, she's going to get fed up with him, but they were together for 9-10 years, so maybe it'll come back in a different swing. She gives him one compliment, and all of a sudden, whoa.
We can be intimate.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let's have sex right now.
Yeah,
You just gave me a compliment. Like, oh my God, I forget about the pens and the staplers that I bought. I don't really care about that anymore. This is great.
Come over here and cut these pants off
But
because
the
they're too
best
tight.
was Raquel then understood that. And she was like, yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
okay, yeah.
How does that make sense?
It makes sense to idiots.
It clicks to her. She's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, totally. I get it. Like, I totally get it. But Tom says they're making us out to be pathological liars. And they're like, we haven't lied about anything except the affair. Wait,
Just, the most important thing that
No.
ever happened.
but what they need to, I'm going to have a fucking aneurysm. What they need to understand is that is the big lie. The affair is the big lie. What goes into that affair is a multitude, a countless amount of lies upon lies upon lies. Where were you last night? Who were you with? Is there something going on with Raquel? Scheana asked him, is there something? 15 people have asked you if something's going on. 15 people have asked questions. You've spun 30 different stories in the span of 8 months, quote unquote 8 months, by the way. It's probably fucking 2 years at this point. And you have the audacity, the nerve, and the gall, sir, to sit there and say, we've only lied about one thing. The amount of lies that go into keeping up an affair for 8 months must be astronomical. So for you guys to take this approach, once again, that you're somehow the victim or that you're somehow slighted and that people are going to resonate with that, or you're going to paint a picture of a bad Ariana or a bad relationship that we're going to buy into is asinine. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and Sandoval had a similar approach too, even when he was sitting around everybody else, when he said, I did one thing wrong. I made one mistake, and that's going to ruin my entire character.
No, dude,
But that's the thing is, you're complaining about people calling you pathological liars. Let's face it. The most important thing that either of you douchebags have ever done in your entire life is a whole lie.
Yeah.
There won't be anything more important, and important doesn't have to be a good thing, by the way. The most prominent thing that you have done in your lives is a fucking affair. You guys suck.
That was the best dig I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Wow, give me some there. Holy shit. You're completely right, though. They're going to be remembered for Sandoval. all your stupid fucking music, all your touring with your dumbass band, Raquel, all your stupid fucking pageants, what you guys are going to be remembered for is Sandoval.
Yeah, it's like
That
what
is-
Achilles said. When you're dead and in the ground, they'll still remember your name. Unfortunately for them, boop.
Wow. That was deep. Nice tie. You're good.
Got it going on.
Hey, you're good. You're good, you. No, look at me.
Oh, Deedle here.
You're good. No, that was De Niro. But congratulations on the kid, by the way, Rob. Jesus.
Oh, him or Al Pacino.
Oh, God. Yeah,
The
Alpo.
Disgusting Brothers.
Alpo one-upped them. But the scene ends with Sandoval saying, we should have done this earlier. You think? You think, Tom? Maybe it would have been a good time, I don't know, 8 months ago when things weren't going great with
The
Ariana.
first time that it happened, maybe you break it to someone. At least tell someone.
Just do what you're doing, but the complete opposite.
Look, a normal person would be eaten alive by the guilt and the lies that are happening.
That's a really good
The
point.
fact that they were still able to just carry on as normal,
Face to face with her all the time.
like they're worse than pathological liars. They're sociopaths.
Exactly. And it's really funny because Tom leaves the trailer and then immediately tries to have another conversation with her. You can tell he's like, all right, and scene. All right, can you guys bounce for a little bit so we can actually talk?
Yep.
Like, can you guys get out of here so we can like really have a conversation, because that was all fake. We ran out of lines on our script, so we need to actually talk.
We need
now.
to regroup here before Raquel comes
Yeah,
out.
we gotta go over notes real quick. So you guys fuck off. And this is where Patrick comes in. Patrick props, dude. Did they mic up Patrick?
I think so.
I think Patrick was mic'd up. Maybe they knew that there was going to be some drama in the trailer because Patrick was ready to go. And Tom is throwing a fucking temper tantrum like a little child, like a little pissed off teenager that didn't get his way. He's stomping around outside with a Diet Coke and a fucking parliament. And he's yelling at Patrick. He's saying, we just need a fucking break, man. I don't want to be fucking filmed. Get the camera out of my face, man. And Patrick's very calm, like, look, you can take a break, Tom. You can go have lunch. You can go by yourself, not be filmed. If you're together, we're filming it. Go look across the yard. Your castmates are eating lunch together. We are filming it. This has nothing to do with the fact that it's you and Raquel, even though it has everything with the fact that it has to do with you and Raquel.
Mhm.
But we're mic'd up. You're going to be on camera. Get the fuck over it. I love the way he walks around, and this was something that I caught. And I don't know if I'm reading too far into it, but I'm reading too far into everything these days. The way that he's walking around stomping and the way he's talking to poor Patrick, he thinks he's a fucking rock star. He
Yes,
thinks
he
he's
does.
so goddamn important that he can make these demands, and not only should he get what he wants, but people should revere him for it. Like, you don't understand what I'm saying, Patrick. Like, in my mind, that's like some major rock star that's actually behind the scenes, and he doesn't like the stage manager. And he's like, nah, you don't fucking understand, buddy. This is happening, and you need to bounce. Sandoval doesn't have that kind of clout. You
But
are.
it makes no sense. His argument was that they didn't want to be filmed anymore, and that's okay. If both you and Raquel do not want to be filmed anymore, then go your separate ways and be alone. They won't film you.
Right.
That's the whole deal.
Yeah, go
You
take a
can
break.
just go do that and go take a break, and you get what you want. It's very clear to everybody watching and Patrick that you want to try to spin some shit.
Yeah, that's all.
why they have this rule in place, because this is not a rule that happens in other reunions. We don't usually get to see, like, maybe you get a snippet of them eating lunch, but usually they just gloss right over it and go right back to the reunion. This is different. They want to make sure that you don't have time to get your plan together. They want to make sure that, yeah, Raquel's watching this on TV. She may have picked up on a couple of little details that she needs to let you know. Maybe you missed them because you were sulking in the corner the entire time. That's what you want to do. And it's very clear to everybody watching that you're just trying to get your story together, essentially, because Schwartz already burned one piece of the story.
Yep.
So you don't want to do any more. You want to get damage control. It's very fucking clear. And you can tell by how angry he gets.
He gets
And
so
he wants
mad.
to stay with her. Maybe, honestly, the only thing that I could think of that might get the cameras to go away, just start undressing.
If he just gets naked,
Just get naked.
that would
Like,
be.
hey, Raquel, get naked. I'm going to get naked. We're naked now. You can't film us.
I think they still would. They film people naked all the time on
That's
these shows.
true.
They just blur them out. So that wouldn't do anything except add to
That was the only thing I
crazy.
could think of.
But he says, we don't feel relaxed. I don't feel relaxed. Raquel doesn't feel relaxed. You don't deserve to feel relaxed, motherfucker. You should feel tense and anxious and like you're going to throw up until you leave this place. And then you should go home and feel anxious and like you're going to throw up at home from what just happened to you because you deserve all of it. The fact that this is how they're going into the reunion, they're taking this stance. Raquel's feeling no feelings. We're watching her reactions on the camera in the trailer, and she is stone cold. She has no fucking reactions. Fake it. Do something. Look at the floor. Play with your nails. Like, act like you give a shit when these people are pouring their hearts out because you ruined an entire friend group. And you can't even for 2 seconds act like it hurt your feelings or act like you feel bad for hurting their feelings. Like, can you just do something? But she doesn't. Anyway, we finally get back from lunch, and Allie and James are the topic of conversation. And I just got to say, flat out, I really like Allie. I think she's great for the show. I think she's going to have a very promising career. After watching her segment here, she, without a doubt, in my mind, she might like him now. They might have a genuine relationship. And I'm not saying they don't, but she definitely used him to get on the show.
I think there's a possibility that she did. I don't really want to go as far to say that she definitely did. Obviously, there's a track record, a very historical track record on this show of doing that. But I liked the way that she answered pretty much everything.
She was
I mean,
great.
she
She's
wasn't
great.
she wasn't protecting James necessarily, and we can get into there's a couple of weird details that came out about James, but she wasn't protecting him. She was answering honestly. Everything that she said was pretty pointed. She knew what was going on at all times. She defended herself. She didn't excuse some actions that maybe she regretted throughout the season or she regretted about James. I thought she had I think she was on for 8 minutes. I thought it was a very pleasant 8 minutes.
Don't misconstrue this as me not liking her, me not thinking that
Yeah.
she did a really good job. I just think that she wanted to get on the show. I think she's great for the show, and yeah, she can hold her own. She can hold her own throughout the
Yeah,
season.
even like as a standalone, she didn't need James to defend her. James said a couple of things, and I think she kind of calmed him down. She just gave him a look, and he stopped talking, which is crazy for James.
I know.
And she was able to carry on by herself. So, yeah, she can stand on her own. We saw her in different situations with all the girls on the show. I like her a lot. I hope she sticks around. Obviously, it depends on the relationship. If the relationship goes a little bit further and then they break up, I think you still keep Allie on the show, though. I think she's good enough.
She's done enough, and LVP signs off on her. She also recognizes that she's great for James, so it's nice to see that she gets kind of the matriarchal like nod, if you will. Like she gets accepted by LVP. That's a big deal. It's not everybody does. We get the weird comments about Raquel's parents talking about James's wiener, which may or may not be true. Anything's true at this point in my mind, so it's not the most shocking thing in the world. But
I did love when he said grandma buttons, though.
Grandma buttons is across the Come on, man. Allie brought up a really good point. Once again, points for Allie. When asked if she thought that James was over Raquel, Andy goes, do you think that he's like past it? She does say, yeah, I really do. I don't think that he still loved her. I think what we saw from James was not a reaction because of Raquel. He was losing his friends. When Schwartz made out with Raquel, that obviously puts him in a really awkward spot. He can't be buddy-buddy with Schwartz because he betrayed him in a way. So that's losing a friend. And then fast forward, he finds out that one of his closest friends is having a full-blown affair with her. Two of the guys that he felt closest with in the group, two of the guys he's known the longest in this group, he's now lost his friendship with. James needs people. James needs people around him. He needs friends. He needs the bros. He needs his girl. Like those are things he needs to thrive. He needs attention. It's not even a knock on him. It's just like how he is. He's an attention-seeking guy. So when he loses those closest to him, I think it does send him into a bit of a spiral. So I think what we saw of him lashing out, and I never really thought that it was still like, oh, he's still in love with Raquel. I thought maybe he felt slighted, but I like this.
I think he felt slighted. Yeah, I think that there was still obviously feelings there, but for somebody like James to be broken up with, especially in that moment, I'm sure that took a toll on him. For not even just from Raquel, just in general. Like, whoa, this person doesn't want to be with me. What's wrong with me? And yeah, I mean, we can rag on him for getting into a relationship 6 weeks later, but he's still with that girl. Was it 5 weeks later? Whatever. And he's still with that girl. And obviously Raquel's doing what Raquel's doing. So at the end of the day, he knows that he comes up as a winner, but I don't think that is more important to James as is everything else that's going on. Like that's what hurts him. He can't even find that small victory and say, wow, Raquel's really burning out right now. I look great. He's looking at it like I'm losing friends all over the place. I can't just rely on Lala all the time. I can't just talk to women all the time. I need my bros. And he even talks about that at Brock's party.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? I'm really dreading hanging out with these bros. And then later he says, I'd really like to go out with them.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens very quickly with him and it doesn't take a whole lot. So I thought that, again, I think that Allie's good for him when they started talking about drinking and how they take like a month off, 2 months off, and then they get back into it and they kind of do it on their same page. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Like him talking about it openly. Obviously, everything that he says, he tries to spin it in a positive way anyway. But hearing Allie kind of back him up gives him credibility, which I like to see, especially with somebody like James, because he gets credibility here and there. But that was pretty important for me.
Yeah, but I did appreciate when Andy kind of pushed it a little bit. Like, Allie, are you taking a break because you want to take a break, or did James need a break? Because look, I'm not here to police anybody. It's not anybody's role to tell people what to do exactly, but I do think that James thrives when he's not drinking. I think we see things time and time again. He kind of lashes out. He has bad nights. That's not a coincidence. Like,
Right.
I just don't think that he and alcohol mix that well. And you can tell by the people around him that are constantly worried about it. Lala's always concerned with it. LVP's concerned with it. Andy's clearly concerned about it. Like, there's a reason, right? There's a reason he got sober to begin with. I just think that he's better off without it. Now, again, not my place to say. That's just my opinion. But we get one Sandoval dig at James where he's talking about some job they had in AC, which sounds like just it was an appearance thing. They made regular appearances where they just went and hung out. And James went one night, and I guess he was DJing, got really drunk, took his shirt off, took his pants off, got kicked out of the club. 100% believe all that happened. We get a really weird moment. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sandoval says that at one point, James smacked a waitress on the ass, and she was later asked to sign something that would say that she wouldn't press charges or something along those lines. That was glossed over
very
entirely.
Quickly. Yeah.
But it wasn't even referenced again.
Nope.
I think Sandoval even tries to bring it up again. And weirdly enough, Ariana's like, yeah, well, when you get drunk, you fuck your friends. And I was like, well, wait. I'm not saying that we can't keep going to Sandoval here. Like, yeah, gear up, get ready for him. But he smacked a girl on the ass at a bar, and it was a problem. That's a problem. That's not okay. That's an issue. And I didn't love that was just like pushed aside for the
and
sake
he
of
also
Sandoval.
didn't deny it,
and not at all.
I mean, he almost confirmed it essentially.
He didn't say shit. He just said like, yeah, well, and then made a dig at Sandoval. It's like, whoa.
But that's it, and that's the problem, obviously, with how overbearing the whole Sandoval thing is, and obviously he's going to be the talk of the entire reunion. So as soon as he says something, they're just going to explode at him. And I don't think that anybody else would have brought that up. I don't think Schwartz has a voice at this point.
No.
So he's definitely not going to bring anything up. If someone else had brought it up, I think they may have dug a little deeper. But as soon as Sandoval brings it up, he just gets knocked right down. So it gets completely discredited. And again, if James had denied that and said, oh, you're just trying to spin a story, I think I probably would have given James the benefit of the doubt and said, yeah, Sandoval's probably just lying his ass off. But he didn't deny it. And that was the biggest thing to me. As soon as he doesn't deny it and he just keeps going and says, yeah, well, it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
That's not great.
I didn't like it at all. And it doesn't take away from anything that Sandoval has done or is doing. I just didn't like it. And I thought that it from Andy, it deserved a follow-up. We deserved an explanation on what happened. We deserve an explanation on how it was resolved. Is this woman okay? That's what I want to know.
Right.
And I'm kind of bummed they didn't push it just because Sandoval is so polarizing. It was almost like, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
I didn't love that. But we talk about Lala's advice to Allie. Lala, again, makes sense. This was eye-opening for me, I got to say, because the way that that's the difference of when she allows herself to actually be vulnerable and break down a little bit and just like humanize herself. I was able to like look past the anger and look past her getting mad. Then the anger and the yelling make more sense to me when I see the other side of it. When I see her like, yeah, she's had a tough year. She's gone through a lot. She's come out the other side and flourished, honestly. But if you don't allow us into that part, if you try to protect us from that, you try to protect yourself from addressing that stuff, it's harder to buy into the anger and the yelling because I don't see the hurt. And I'm not saying I want to see you hurt. I want to see you be vulnerable and open and emotional because it's touching. It allows us to resonate. It humanizes. Once again, we always talk about humanizing moments. That was a massive one for me. And then a moment in which I originally took a lot of issue with of her kind of going behind James's back and being like, oh, that was tame. But her explaining it like, you know what? I've been through X, Y, and Z. Allie seems so sweet and gentle, and I just saw something in her, and I just felt this urge to baby her to make sure she was okay. Okay, I get that. That makes sense to me. That scene now makes sense to me. James and her talked about it. It was an easy discussion. Hey, you know I'm not that guy. Like, don't do that. And it was squashed. Like, okay, thank you. Clarity. That makes sense. I can put that together in my brain.
Finally.
Resolution, exactly. So that was good. But this one I didn't care for, once again. And it comes from Sandy once again. And they're talking about how Allie and James got the boot out of a club. Once again, James got kicked out of a club. I do believe he got kicked out of the club. Do you think that it was because he yelled across the room to Allie, hey, let's get the fuck out of here? Or do you think that they were arguing for an extended period of time?
Probably arguing for an extended period of time. But I also don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, especially given James's past. who knows? They could have been security guards that knew who he was, and he's done things before. Let's get ahead of it and just get him the fuck out of here.
What I didn't like, and this was Sandoval being sneaky, because he goes, and I heard he had his hand on her wrist, or he put his hand on her arm. It's like, okay, time
He
out.
tried to like downplay it as he said it too, and I was like, yeah, I know what you're doing there.
Don't do that. You're trying to downplay it and not make it.
Trying to be like a fake friend to James and be like, yeah, I heard, but like, I don't know.
What you're trying to do is take the spotlight off of you because you recognize that the ass slapping thing sort of landed because no one discredited it. Now you're saying that he puts hands on women. You're painting a picture of James the abuser. I don't believe that he was dragging Allie around the club.
No, definitely
like
not.
The way he's picturing that and painting that, you know exactly what he's doing. And this is Sandoval trying. This is where I'm like, dude, just sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, take your beatings and go the fuck home. And now Scheana gets into the mix. This was the greatest moment since Sandoval started. Andy asks Sandoval flat out, what happened in regards to the Scheana and Raquel altercation. And I'm tempted to just, like, in honor of this moment, sit here in silence for 5 minutes because it was so good. He's sitting there and he's staring wide-eyed at the floor, just dumbfounded, to the point where Andy has to repeat his name, Sandoval.
I couldn't tell, honestly, if he just expected people to just jump all over him as soon as he was brought up. Like, he's a trained dog at this point where people are yelling at him, and as soon as he opens his mouth, he's done. I honestly do think that he didn't know what to say because he doesn't remember what he said in the car with Ariana on the way home with Scheana on the phone. He doesn't remember what he said to Scheana a little bit later. He doesn't remember what he told Raquel later. He doesn't remember what Raquel told him. He doesn't remember any of it because there's just too many lies out on the table. So he's trying to just get his story straight, and that's him staring at the ground for 5 minutes, figuring out, okay,
his stupid
what's the
brain
best way to
like,
approach this? And then he says, well, I'm just in like between a rock and a hard place because I don't want to hurt Scheana and we'll ruin our friendship. And that's when Ariana drops in and goes, you have no friendship with her. It's over.
Give it up.
It's
pal.
done. And then I don't like that it gets to the point where he actually starts to say, yeah, she punched her in the face.
He says,
he does get to that point, and it's like, all right, dude.
He says, and I heard her say it. First of all, bro, it's taken you 15 minutes to come up with this sentence. And if you are trying to protect your relationship with Scheana, don't talk. Don't say anything. But instead he goes, I heard her say, I just punched that bitch in the face and threw her phone in the street. Now it's interesting. When you listen to what Ariana said, or what Scheana said, I'm going to throw her phone and I'm going to call you from mine. Sandoval heard that and used that in the end of his story. I punched that bitch in the face and I threw her phone. That's all you did. You just piggybacked. You just took what she said and used it because you're like, oh, credibility. This is exactly what you guys are doing with the Mondrian. They're all stuck on the Mondrian, so you guys keep going back to girls' night in the Mondrian. That's not when this started. No fucking shot. But that's the one that you're going to lean on because there's evidence. They are not going to dig much further because they can put you there. You can put yourselves there. You don't have to dive into the vault of when you guys actually started this whole thing. So I think we saw that again. He heard something and used it to his advantage. But what started to really get to me is they keep flashing over to Scheana's face. And look, a lot of times I give Scheana some flack because I think that she gets overly emotional in situations that, like, I don't understand why she's the one crying because somebody else has been slighted.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
This wasn't one of those moments. She's genuinely shattered by this whole thing. Like, she's crushed. And you see her, like, trying to hold back the tears. She's listening to Sandoval spout off nonsense, trying to throw her under the bus, paint her out to be the villain here. She finally kind of snaps and goes, just shut the fuck up, Tom. Shut the fuck up. Stop talking. And after she tells Tom to shut the fuck up, we find out that Andy asks her, like, did you have inklings about this? And Scheana says, yeah, they were recent. Like, it wasn't until it was closer to the end of this whole thing, or I guess the beginning of this whole thing, however you want to frame it, that she started to actually have suspicions. And she did what a real friend does. And she went to Ariana calmly,
off camera,
and said, hey, I'm hearing some things. I'm seeing some things. I want to bring it to you. Ariana said, I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. I trust them both implicitly. Scheana does what a good friend does, says, okay, if that's what you think, I've given you the info. It is now my job to support you as a friend. Scheana's a good friend. Scheana is a good friend.
She is. And she was even a good friend to Raquel during that situation because Raquel also said, no, absolutely not. I would never do anything like that while it was going on. So Raquel's just lying her ass off. And for Scheana to be able to feel comfortable going to Ariana to talk about that means that it was pretty serious. I mean, was friends with Sandoval. She's
Extremely
very good
close.
friends
Yeah.
with Raquel. She's very good friends with Ariana. Like, she is stuck in this triangle, and she tried to do what she could do, which props to her, honestly. I mean, it fucking sucks, but if you can look at a little bit of a light there in the tunnel, it's that you tried. Honestly, like you did what was right by Ariana. You did what was right by yourself and your friendship, and I think ultimately it'll bring the two of them closer together, because obviously she was one of the first people to say it. Like, obviously Lala had inklings, but Lala has inklings about a lot of things. So, take what you can here and there. For Scheana to do that, I think maybe a bit of a domino effect almost, where you probably see Ariana start to question things a little bit
She
more.
definitely would have taken that more to heart than other people coming to her.
For
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Especially the way she went about it. Like,
And
you said.
I would go as far to say as that's probably when Ariana started talking to Tom about, like, where were you? Tracking his location
yeah.
on his phone, things like that. And then she would see, oh, he's at Schwartz's.
You know what? That might have led to her being like, I need to look in his phone right now.
I think so.
That might
honestly.
have been the caveat.
Because, yeah, I mean, if one of your closest friends, who's also friends with the other person, the other party that's being
She's
accused,
best friends with other people,
comes to tell you this, you're gonna, obviously you're gonna trust your boyfriend, you're gonna trust your friends, but part of you is gonna think, well, let's see if there's anything there. So it could have started this whole thing where she did that. So thank God that Scheana did that,
No,
because
seriously,
honestly,
yeah.
Ariana could have just been living in this lie forever, and then eventually maybe Sandoval gets caught or grows some balls and actually breaks up with her and goes off.
No shot.
And then he can spin it and be like, yeah, it was a one night thing, but we're here, even though it was like 2 years. And it's just, the whole thing was dirty, but I do like that Scheana came out that way, and it was a really good piece of information, honestly.
No, I like that moment, and we get that little tidbit of the open relationship comment at Coachella, which is disgusting. Like, Tom is everything that's wrong with dudes. This is why we as dudes get a bad rap. This is why everyone says, oh, you can't trust men. This is why there's a company that we very much support and love called Boys Lie, because of people like Tom. And it's so hard to defend that there are good dudes out there when you see a guy who is this maniacal and this backstabbing and this disgusting, that he's able to portray this lie for so long with no repercussions and no emotions. And the only reason he's upset now is simply because he got caught. You're the fucking problem, Tom. You're what ruined it for the rest of the dudes out here. It's guys like you, and it's fucking so annoying to watch. But we finally get some Tom Ariana time. We get to see these two answer questions back and forth, and it's leading us into the next episode. We still got more to go on this one, but I think we're gonna get a lot more of it next week. But it's, were you hiding issues? Ariana says no. Tom says yes. Of course, Tom says yes. And LVP calls him out and says, well, why? Why are you hiding shit when nobody else is hiding shit? Ariana has been open about her body image issues. She's been open about her depression. She's been open about her inability to be intimate because of her own issues, because of their intimacy issues in the relationship. Like, she has been saying things. She's been open. Tom, I really haven't, like, if you really look back, like, has Tom been open about anything in his life? No. So for you to take the stance, it's pretty fucking interesting that the one guy that's not really sharing a lot is saying that they both collectively hadn't shared a lot.
Plus, also, if you feel like it's a one-way street and you're trying to get her to talk about things and bring other people into the fold about the unhappiness that you have in your own relationship, you can go out and start talking to people, especially on camera.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk to producers. You can talk to, and I'm not talking about 2 weeks before the end of the season.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm talking about talk to Schwartz, talk to Scheana on camera, because Sheena's friends with her. Maybe Ariana's divulging a little bit of information to Scheana and you're just trying to figure it out. That all makes sense to me. You just sitting there and acting like, oh yeah, we had so many problems the entire time and I felt trapped in the relationship, but I didn't tell anybody. I just kept that to myself. It's like, dude, you're not helping yourself at all. Nobody fucking believes you.
And when did it come out? When did he start asking questions and saying things like, oh, it's been
September, after they had already allegedly started, but that could have been a fucking year.
Now he starts sharing. Now he starts being like, oh, we're having problems in the relationship. We see that clip from September in 2022 where he's with a producer behind the scenes. He's like, I just feel bad, man, because everyone else is out here putting out their stuff, but I'm not. We and Ariana aren't. It's like, oh, well, that timeline's pretty fucking convenient, Tom. Everything's fucking calculated with this guy, and it's messy as shit. But we got to keep trucking. We're almost like 3/4 of the way through this shit. This is when we get the restraining order pulled. Raquel got a restraining order against Scheana after a little altercation on Watch What Happens Live, which, look, we've already commented. Did she punch her? Did she push her? Who gives a shit? The
Legally
restraining order,
speaking, we won't go into that. But.
no, but yeah, you're right. But the restraining order was ridiculous, and the fact that it's against Scheana Shay of all people, like, look, it was clearly whatever happened was an isolated incident. This chick's not out here walking around punching people in the face, causing a scene. She never has. She's never been that person. Why would she suddenly now be a repeat offender in a moment that was so emotionally charged that she felt the need to do something? She just reacted. Like, there's no need for a restraining order. And once again, Tom and Raquel can't get out of their own fucking way. They do everything they can to make themselves look worse. But we get the one-on-one with Andy about Raquel's like, I totally regret getting the restraining order. I probably shouldn't have done that. It was bad. Lala gets emotional because Scheana's been going through it. And this is when, we mentioned it earlier, this is the actual moment where Scheana finally breaks. She finally breaks. She's been so strong for so long with this whole thing. And she melts down in front of us. Fucking Tom says, I totally get it. I totally get it, Scheana. No.
That was worse than him reacting to Brock cutting his hair off.
It was, because you did it. What do you mean you totally
You're
get
the
it?
reason why she's breaking down right now, dumbass.
Everything that she is feeling is
He
a
has this
product of
twisted
you.
idea that him and Scheana will still be friends.
I know.
That's the only thing that I can think of. And you can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his reactions. He's not talking to anyone else. He only talked to Schwartz once, and it was because he fucked up the story. He messed up the timeline that they had discussed. Now he's mad at Schwartz, so he's not going to say anything to Schwartz. He still feels like he might be able to salvage some sort of relationship or friendship with Scheana.
You can tell by the way he's talking to her.
Yeah, like it's way more lighthearted. He's not talking. No, obviously, like he might talk to Andy a little bit, but everybody else is out to get him. He feels like maybe Scheana won't be out to get me. Maybe I can try to be nice to her and I can salvage this. Like, no, dude, you're done.
But Scheana finally cracks, and I'm not lying when I say this. I was watching this down here by myself. I got choked up, genuinely choked up during the scene, because she starts going, the level of depravity here is sickening, because she's like, I let her live with me. It's affecting me. It's affecting my daughter now. She's like, I'm having like crying fits frequently where I can't even function. And my daughter saw me and started hyperventilating and breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
At some point during this whole thing, before it actually broke, Scheana questioned Raquel and said, don't fucking do this. Like, is this happening? And Raquel's like, no, absolutely not. I promise. She's like, please don't fucking do this. Like, don't put me in a position where I have to be apart from you, because I can't fucking handle that. Like, you're one of my best friends. She took her into her home.
Mm-hmm.
She welcomed her into her home.
Right after she broke up the James.
Like,
come stay with me. I'll take care of you.
Despicable.
I'll make sure that you're okay. And the whole damn time, Raquel's just sitting in the trailer, fucking smiling and smirking and rolling her eyes.
She says, I should have written Scheana a note, huh? Probably should have written her a note.
God,
there's a lot more regrets coming.
That was the other
now.
thing is, like, I guess she released the restraining order, or dismissed it rather, but I'm sure that the time frame in which it should be dismissed is probably the end of that day. Because there's no way that she wanted to go out and face Scheana.
No
chance in hell.
No.
So she wanted to make sure that the case isn't actually dismissed until midnight that night.
You know what? I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if she cares, bro.
Well, the only reason that I think that is because if Andy had that and he saw the piece of paper, which he had it the whole time, if he was going to give that to Scheana, he would have made sure that Raquel was out there.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is dismissed, so you guys can be within 100 yards of each other?
That's a good
point. Okay.
That's a good point, but...
Well, you glossed over my favorite part.
Oh, no.
I was saying to myself over and over again, don't do it, Andy. I know you want to do it. Don't do it, Andy. In the middle of Scheana breaking down, he goes, you said that you would trust Brock in bed with her.
I was literally about to say that.
Oh, really?
That's why I was like, yeah, we got a couple more things. I want to make sure. I thought, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I was whispering to myself, don't fucking do it. I know you want to do it. I know you want to do it. And obviously he's been doing it the whole reunion. He's been asking those uncomfortable questions.
It's been good.
And as far on, I wanted him to ask it. Like, if I'm being entirely honest, I wanted him to make that statement because we talked about that statement a couple of weeks ago, obviously when it first came out. We've been thinking about this for weeks.
That just didn't age well, you know?
It doesn't age well, and it's in a really bad situation where Scheana is breaking down crying, and it furthers that. I get why he asked it, and I appreciate that he asked it, but it was definitely weird timing.
It was weird timing, but this was the peak of just disgusted for me. This is when a notebook throwing moment. I was alone, so I gave it a good chuck against the
Good for
couch.
you. You deserve it.
I needed it because this shows you exactly who Tom Sandoval is. This shows you who Raquel Levis is. This shows you how their brains work and operate. Sandoval's trying to explain it away. This is him trying to explain away what happened, and he says it just spiraled out of control. I haven't been a fake guy for 15 years, Scheana. You have to know that this fake guy for the last 8 months, it was not malicious. It was not malicious. Everyone freaks out. Ariana, I loved this clap in from Ariana. She's like, you better watch what the fuck you say, because how is it not malicious? He's like, it wasn't malicious intent. If it wasn't malicious intent, Tom, the girl you fucked before Raquel wouldn't have happened.
Yep.
There's no such thing as lack of malicious intent when you step out on your significant other of 9 years, of whom you've built a life with. You cannot sit there and say, this was not malicious. Everything about this is malicious. The funniest part, Tom, is that the sex isn't the worst part. The lying upon lying upon lying. You lied about everything. When you say earlier, we're not pathological liars, all we lied about was the affair, the list of shit that comes along with that. Family, friends, livelihoods, jobs, businesses, friends of friends. You took down an entire area of LA because you're so fucking gross and you can't handle your own shit. You can't just go up to your girlfriend of 9 years and be like, hey, we got issues. We need to either break up or figure this the fuck out. You're going to lean on this thing that because you weren't intimate, you stepped out on her, but you didn't do it to hurt her fucking feelings. How are you going to go fuck someone else without hurting her feelings? How do you not have malicious intent when you're cheating on her and lying to her face and watching the girl that you're cheating with hug and embrace your girlfriend time and time again and act like she's her best fucking friend? That's depraved. That's fucking lunatic behavior. And to sit there and defend it, sit there and act like you're the fucking victim, you're this little crybaby bitch. I wanted to throw my book through the fucking TV screen, but I settled for a pillow.
Well, good for you showing restraint.
Thanks. I see the irony there. Anyway, it all ends. Episode 2 ends. We obviously get the Brock question. And Andy asked Scheana if she ever said anything to Brock. She said, yeah, it came up, but I framed it more as, did she ever make a pass at you? Brock says, absolutely not. Never happened. Never gave her the opportunity to. And then we get Raquel kind of coming out. Scheana has to go to her trailer. She gives Andy a Good as Gold album, which I would like.
Love
one.
that. Yeah.
So if anybody has access to one of those, we would love a couple of
Send
them.
it over.
But I love the quick cutscene of her in her trailer, and she's like cozied up with like her sweatshirt, and a White Claw.
Done for the day.
And you know what? That's how to do a reunion.
Yeah.
You tap out a little bit early, go by yourself in a trailer with a White Claw and your comfies on. That's how you end a trailer. You're not losing here, Scheana.
Oh,
you get to watch the fireworks and you get to sit back in your trailer and take a deep breath because you've been through it. I felt so fucking bad for her, man. I really did, because she actually felt all of this, and I hope that she's able to recover from it all and like get past it, because it sucks to see people actually break. Like people that didn't do anything wrong, to see them actually break is a shitty thing to watch. But we get a quick one-on-one to end it, and it's with Raquel, and it's kind of setting up her going out onto the main stage. And she says she's there to take accountability, but shows no emotion while she's saying it.
Expecting the worst, hoping for the best.
Like, what's the best outcome here? But she says that the way that it all started was Tom made her feel heard and made her feel special, and she's never felt that before. She's not yours, though. So, like, you should immediately see that that's inappropriate, but that's a whole different story. She thought that there was a path forward with Ariana. Like, in what world?
I go between a couple different like ideas of who Raquel is, and I'm really getting tired of it because I am just talking myself into being a lunatic at this point. I can't figure out if she's just the dumbest person to ever grace the stage of reality TV, and that's really saying something. But watching her react and the things that she says when she talked about how she should have wrote Scheana a letter instead of just giving her the dismissed papers, I can't tell if she's just overly dumb. I just can't talk myself into her being like this maniacal and just this much of an evil genius and having zero emotions towards anything. Like, was she just using her friendships with other people to get closer to Tom? That's a possibility.
Oh, I like that
Was
one.
this just a byproduct and she really doesn't care what other people think? And that's also a terrible thing. There's so many things that go into it, and I'm tired of racking my brain about it. I'm just getting to the point now where I just want to see her get ripped apart for an hour and a half next week.
Ariana deserves that chance to just like let her know exactly how she
I
feels.
don't know if Ariana's going to talk directly to her.
I think that she will
That's a tough-
address her ever so briefly. I don't know if she's going to get into a conversation, but she might throw a jab or two at her. But it's crazy to me that while they're having this discussion and Andy's like, Tom mentioned that you guys thought that Ariana didn't want to know. And she's like, yeah, well, she never really questioned anything. And she like never really dug that deep. And she was only like kind of taking at face value what Sandoval was saying. And he's like, it sounds like you're blaming her. And
Yeah.
Raquel just kind of like, ha, like just like
that was the other thing that Sandoval, when Scheana walked off the stage,
yeah.
and Andy said, all right, you're done for the day, Scheana. You can go back to the trailer, blah, blah, blah. We'll have Raquel come out. Sandoval goes, I'm jealous.
Yeah. She responds to Andy asking that question. She's like, now I know that she did want to know. It's like, okay, Raquel, okay, dude. Who wouldn't want to know that their significant other is having an affair? Who wants to sit in that and like ignore and look the other way? Does it happen? Sure. But for you as the mistress to sit there and say like, yeah, I know what's going on. We have an unspoken agreement. I'm going to bang her man and she's going to look that way while I do it. She lets me use the guest room.
God.
Fuck. But we get prepping for the worst, hoping for the best, and we get Tom Schwartz popping a Xanax, which might go down in Bravo history as one of my favorite moments of him pulling that pill bottle out. Look, I am sober. I do not advocate drug use. I don't advocate for drug abuse. But to see him rip out Xanax, say it Xanax, and then flip the bottle at Ariana,
Oh my
and
God,
Ariana laughed, and
Yeah.
that was
You got a
was
chuckle
nice
out of her
moment.
during, that was a nice moment to see her actually laugh at something. Obviously, every other smile that she's had has been negative towards Sandoval, something that he said, or supporting the other people who were just attacking him. It was nice to see like a genuine
Just
laugh
a moment, just a
'cause
brief.
she wasn't expecting it. Obviously, the tensions are super high. It was funny to see it, and like just everybody's acceptance of it immediately. Like, Xanax really right now?
Well,
Yeah, it's prescribed. I probably take it like once a month, whatever.
The funniest part to me is how everybody's like, there was a brief moment where people are slightly up in arms, like, what are you doing? It's like, okay, guys, let's take a beat here.
Yeah.
Let's look around this room real quick. Let's not throw judgment at Schwartz for taking his Xanax, because I would imagine that you guys dabble with the pasta as well. So let's not act like we're holier than
Without a
thou
doubt.
just because he's more blatant about it. I actually appreciate the fact that, I'm going to take it. Him doing that makes me believe that he doesn't do it often.
I agree with that.
Like,
yeah.
that actually makes
sure.
me think like, oh yeah, I don't think he does have a problem with Xanax. He probably
No.
does take it once a
No,
month.
it's just a funny moment.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, next week's going to be a doozy.
I do have to ask, we need to talk about it. What do you think is the reveal? We've talked about it a little bit on the side. I've got 3 potential outcomes.
I'm probably in the same boat. Top outcome is obviously it's been going on longer than they say, and somebody has some information, whether it's producers or an outside source that's letting us know. Second option is somebody within the group actually did know
For the whole time.
the entire time,
I'm
and it's
leaning
not
towards that.
Schwartz.
No, I think it's somebody. We don't know anything. This is
Yeah,
not
I
us
know.
trying to
This is
hint.
just speculation.
This is all speculation. I think somebody in the group has known. Somebody
Probably Ken.
I don't think that would be
He just forgot,
earth-shattering.
and then he remembered again.
Oh yeah, there was that one night
They
back
were-
in 2012.
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly.
but
And then the third, a very,
Brock.
that Brock was involved.
that Brock slept with. That's a rumor going around.
I
That Brock
hate
actually
that.
did sleep.
I don't
with
like that that's a rumor right now, because if it's
her.
not
She doesn't need
true,
it, man.
Scheana does not need
No,
that.
she
I also
really
just
doesn't.
hate those types of rumors. But no, I would say the third option, which is less exciting, is that they're bringing back Jax and Brittany or someone else.
Would
Stassi,
that be
maybe.
enough to not film the show?
No, maybe.
No, because that
Them
it
getting
has
their
to.
ducks in the order.
What's
I don't
going to
know.
drive me fucking crazy? We don't get the reveal until the last 5 minutes of the show.
That means it's probably something that happened in the one-on-ones, because
It has
what
to
we read into is Nobody else really knows. Apparently, Lala just found out what it
Like
was.
last week. Yeah.
So for them as a group to not know what it is, it means it didn't happen in the group setting. So it wasn't some big stunning reveal that Andy did in the last 5 minutes in front of everybody. It's got to be something from the one-on-ones. So unfortunately, that kind of does point to potentially Brock, or that we know that it's been going on for longer.
Somebody in the group was
Yeah.
party to this whole thing for the
Could
entire.
be any of the three. I don't know which one I'm rooting for necessarily.
I'm
just
rooting for anything.
at this point, I'm just rooting that it's something important and not some
That's what I
bullshit that
think.
they're dragging us along.
I guess that's a better question because I don't think it's going to be a big.
I think it's gonna
bombshell.
be
I
stupid.
think it's going to be a dud.
Yeah.
But
And the fact that Lala found out about it last week and she didn't spill the beans, I don't think it's that big.
and her reaction wasn't like earth shattering unless she was so shocked that she's just like I don't have anything to say about it, which could be possible. But oh my god, this is I told you this is taking years off my life, man. But let's get to your cues, you cuties. From Xtina for days. What do you think it meant when Sandoval said green light to Tom? I don't know.
I have no idea.
There was a lot of speculation about this one. I don't think it was anything deep. I think that it was just like a nervous tick, like green light. Or he was saying green light, take your Xanax.
Yeah, it could have been that.
Oh, I haven't seen this one. This is interesting. From Katie Melody, what are your thoughts on the theory that the drama bomb is from Schwartz?
It makes the most sense. He's probably the closest to the situation as far as
He probably knows the most.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it would definitely make sense.
It makes sense. And if Sandoval's still kind of pulling the strings, he might have pushed him into saying it on air.
Yeah, maybe.
From Abby Cabs, do you think James is peeing or making it about the pasta? I think if he was making it about the pasta, he would have just done it on stage like Schwartz.
Yeah, probably.
From Liz's Carbs, when are y'all getting steel activated merch? That's actually funny.
Pretty good merch. Yeah.
That's not bad. Oh fuck, am I that guy?
Yeah, you get activated. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll wear that. I'll wear that crown. Let's do two more because I can't even think anymore. From Zara Yellen. Oh wait, you've asked a question before and you told me to pronounce it, and I forgot. Zara Allen. I think I did this last
Can
time.
I see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Top left.
Yeah, Zaray Allen.
Don't fucking walk it off like you just. Oh yeah, totally.
You can't read.
I
never have trouble reading
what the
people's usernames.
Funny thing is, before I got drafted, I was an English major.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you know how to read.
Doesn't know I mean I know how to read?
Yeah,
shut
doesn't
up.
know that I know
Shut
how
up.
to talk.
Shut up. Last one. Let me pick a good one. From Destiny Mitchell. And if you've listened up until this point, you will get this reference because of our intro this evening. Can you sing Sandoval's a liar for the intro? No, but you're welcome for what the intro was. So, well done, Destiny Mitchell. You put it in play before you even knew you put it in play. You just heard it in the beginning, and now it's coming to fruition unless you didn't listen this long, and that's on you, Destiny.
Just pulled an unassisted triple play.
Yeah, unassisted triple play. It was our destiny.
Destiny.
Ba-dum-tsh. We need to go to bed. But that's it. That's all we have. Like I said last week, I'm so ready for this round of shows to be over. I am too emotionally invested. I am tired. I am cranky. Sandoval has now affected my life, and I hate that. I fucking hate it. But I love all of you.
Yeah. But I'm tired.
I think my dog's drinking from the toilet right
I think
now.
he is too. Yeah, I can hear
Nice. Attaboy, Lou. On
All
that
right.
note, buy tickets July 26th, New York City, City Winery. Follow us on all our socials at @Brav_Bros. Subscribe on YouTube and notice how fucking good and smooth we've gotten at plugs, baby.
So good with the plugs. Scoot you next Tuesday.
BravBros are out of here. Love that.